The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
His hands! What the damn hands do? Just catch it. It's as simple as that. Good morning, everybody. We welcome you in. Off the Bench. Presented by United Dairy Farmers, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you. And, let's get rolling a little bit. How we feeling today? How we feeling on a Tuesday?
I feel great. It's a beautiful morning. Dealt with a little bit of traffic coming in, or a little road work again, but that's okay.
What's new?
We fight through it. Listen, I feel like the road that leads into this beautiful town, I think they're trying to stop people from getting here. I don't know why, but every time I try to come here, they try to stop me. But you know what? The road work will do whatever it wants. So they'll battle
through.
They'll work on that road 50 of the 52 weeks.
There you go. There you go. I like the Kansas hoodie.
Thank you. Well,
his hoodie collection.
Big Kansas fan, huh?
I've got a lot. No,
favorite
but
basketball team in the Big 12.
So I went to Kansas. I went to the Fog when was it? March? I don't know when I went.
The West Coast trip.
Yes. So I bought this hoodie when I was there because I wanted to represent while I was there.
Of course.
So now I have it, and now I will wear it when it's cold.
Well, I mean,
that is how hoodies work.
Correct.
The Oregon hoodie seemed to pay off for you.
Yep, the Oregon hoodie worked great.
Yep, Kansas.
I do have a future on Kansas.
Parlayed with the Orioles -6.5 live, -1,000 like 3 months ago.
From 3 months ago.
That's right.
Yep.
Greatest parlay of all time.
5 to win 60. That's going to be a fun cash.
Bengals over 9.5 is going to ruin my greatest parlay of all time.
Oh, what was on it?
Tom Aspinall to win a UFC fight in August. The USA men's basketball gold medal, Caitlin Clark, rookie of the year, and Alabama to make the playoff. And Bengals over 9.5 wins, which looks like it's not going to happen.
Okay.
I'm not patient enough for like those season-long futures.
I think you're still going to win that.
I hope. It'd be a big win.
It'd be a big win.
Casey apparently raided the closet of Jimmy.
That's right.
Look at that Notre Dame from head to toe today.
That's right. Yeah, I also went to Notre Dame Stadium and rated their apparel.
Have to. Whenever
you go to a opposing college stadium, or you got to go in there and buy some merch just because. I also went to Allen Fieldhouse and I got a Kansas T-shirt.
Get any Michigan gear from your trip to Ann Arbor?
I didn't buy any official Michigan
good
merchandise, but I did buy a jacket that says Ann Arbor, Michigan on it.
Oh, that's even worse. That city's a dump.
Pure
Michigan. Not great.
Yeah.
There you go.
Kept me warm, though.
That's all that matters during this time of year. Let's see. What do we got today? We will talk Ohio State. We'll talk college football. I know everyone's excited to talk Ohio State.
That's right.
You might like what I have to say about Ohio State since everybody seems to dislike Ohio State in this Cincinnati area. So we'll get to that coming up around the corner. Guards Yankees game 2 with the ALCS coming up later on tonight. We'll talk a little about that. Francona did a hit on Jim Rome's show and had some interesting things to say that I'll throw out. We'll react to that coming up here shortly as well. Then we'll talk some Bengals. We'll talk some NFL. We'll talk whatever we get to over the next couple of hours.
That's right.
So there you go. I like we got the Bengals helmet officially ready to rock. I do have for when the Browns win on Sunday, and Jacob said he has to wear the Browns helmet. Well, I brought the Browns helmet in.
We could have a little contact if we need to.
Yeah.
If we get heated like yesterday, we
can
throw them on and have
you go head to head.
A little head in the hand in the dirt.
The human body craves contact. That's what people in this industry often forget. We sit here behind the cameras and microphones. We forget the human body craves contact. Now that we got helmets.
That's what got my team
we
into
can
the
get
mess
after
they're
it.
in.
Oh, no.
To begin with. But, what? Injuries. Injuries.
Is that a breaking news?
Breaking news.
Ooh, is this what Pat McAfee's tweet
The Raiders. They are finalizing a trade of wide receiver Davante Adams to
the Jets.
The New York Jets.
The season is saved.
I knew last night was the
season is saved.
I figured the Davante Adams Bowl was last night, but I said it incorrectly. I said the winner would get Davante Adams, but yes, the team that lost last night was probably going to be more of a panic mode, and there you go.
That's right. So yet again, it's reported that the Ravens are done with a superstar wide receiver, and oh no, it falls through the cracks.
Oh.
Big shout out to Baltimore. Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe.
That's
Quote
so
the
close.
Raven, nevermore.
Who actually lived in New York more of his life than Baltimore. Moved
Really?
to Baltimore at the end of his life and died. So maybe that's what Davante Adams meant by posting Edgar Allan Poe, is that it was going to be a Jet all along.
Yes.
There was a lot of buzz that was picking up that the Raiders were not going to move on from Davante Adams. And if you move on from Davante Adams, does that mean now Crosby could potentially be on the
So
move?
was there buzz that the Raiders weren't going to move
Well,
on from
your
Davante
guy.
Adams? Or did the Raiders owner slide Adam Schefter a little blank check and say,
I
tweet
think-
something about how Davante Adams loves Aiden O'Connell? Because did you click on that article?
Yeah, I think that
'Cause
might
it
have.
said he wants to stay because he loves Aiden O'Connell. And I don't know if you've watched Aiden O'Connell play football over the last 5 or 6 years, including his time at Purdue, but not a huge fan myself.
Yeah, I'm out. So good for the Jets. Good for Davante.
You watched the Jets last night on Monday Night Football. What does this do?
Disgusting.
What does this do for them?
I think Garrett Wilson looks incredible. So, and Alan Lazard, if he's not dropping passes, he looks fine. So I think this makes their wide receiving core pretty good. I still have faith in that defense. The offense looked better last night than it has really all year long. Played a really good team in Buffalo. That's, kind of the top dog in that division. Not kind of, definitely is the top dog in that division after the last few years. So I think this is going to make them a little bit more respectable. I don't know how much faith I have in Todd Downing calling plays. He didn't do great in Tennessee, but maybe this will be better.
Did you see the compensation for it, Elliot?
No.
Because I
Fourth,
just
right?
saw it. It's for a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
Conditional 4th-round pick.
They
They
didn't
said
want
they
to keep
wouldn't
him.
trade him for less than a second.
Well, that sets up. So, assuming he plays with the Jets this coming up weekend, the Jets at Pittsburgh, Sunday Night Football. So that'll be the first time you get to see Aaron Rodgers.
Do you think he'll play this week? So you also agree with me that this hamstring injury is simply a get-me-out-of-town injury?
Yeah, now it's feeling much better this
Right.
morning.
Has to be.
I
Has
mean,
to be.
yeah, I think it's feeling much better as far as that's concerned. But yeah, Jets Steelers. Jets a 1 point. Really?
Right?
Jets a 1 point favorite. I mean, we don't. It's Tuesday. I don't want to look too far ahead to the upcoming week of NFL.
Home
but
primetime, Mike T. Dog? No way.
Jets 2-4 on the road, and that line was set before the. I mean, you would think if Adams plays that maybe a half a point. I don't know. But that's odd. What does that do for the receiver room, though? Who's wide receiver one?
Yeah, it's Davante Adams is on your team. Davante Adams is wide receiver 1, right? I think Cincinnati, Minnesota, Miami, Dallas is it that he wouldn't be wide receiver 1 on immediately?
Yeah, and not to mention Rodgers is a big.
Right.
If you're Rodgers' guy,
Exactly.
He's like Lazard has.
I mean, who's wide receiver 1 right now?
I was gonna say Lazard is probably wide receiver 1 on the Jets.
He might be before the last 2 games. He
just
certainly was.
just because Rodgers throws to him every single time.
Right.
Then once Davante Adams gets there, it's going to be the Davante Adams show.
I think he is going to take that offense to the next level, though.
Yep.
I love their backfield, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen. Their O-line's been doing a really solid job. Obviously, the question with that is always how long can 40-year-old tackles hold up? Tyrone Smith, Morgan Moses. They've been playing well, but, man, I don't know that I'm relying on a 40-year-old quarterback and 40-year-old tackles to take me through an 18-week season in the playoffs. But obviously they have to get there first, and we'll see what happens. So Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams, Alan Lazard, is that the best receiver room in the league immediately?
That's what I was just going to turn on you. I mean, Alan Lazard, sneaky efficient, too, because you look
Oh, yeah.
at Garrett Wilson, who has 67 targets, 41 catches.
I do think he leads the league in drops, so we have to ask if he's quit on his quarterback.
That's a valid question. I think that Aaron Rodgers, I think some of his guys are quitting on him. But maybe with Davante Adams there, they'll start
Mike
playing
Williams
harder
is certainly
for him.
quitting on him.
Mike Williams quit on football like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Everyone forgot.
Yeah, Mike Williams can't catch a football.
No,
and then he slips.
stinks.
But no, so you got Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, and obviously you add Davante Adams there. Again, what's wild is I don't know how to feel about the Jets. Does this automatically make them like a legitimate contender?
I still think they are. I think they were, and I think this makes them I don't know how much it elevates them, but I think they were already a contender, and I think this makes them just as much of a contender.
Yeah, I think we all thought they were going to make the playoffs, at least coming into the season. And I still think with the way the AFC is shaping out that they have a better than not chance to make the postseason. We'll see what happens when Tua comes back to Miami. That might change things up a little bit, but it's still going to be one team from the AFC South and probably one team from the AFC West. And then you have to factor in how many teams from the AFC North go. But, yeah, I think the Jets are a solid team.
Yeah, Bills sitting atop the East right now. Again, they're 4-2. They just beat the Jets last night, and you got the 2-4 Jets, who people feel very highly about right now, who are looking up at Buffalo. Buffalo, I think because I think the AFC is not that good, and I think there's a very good chance they could win that division still. I'm very curious to see if the Jets take off now. They move on from their head coach. They get that drama behind them. Now they rally around the offense to be complemented by the defense, of course. I have to see it first, but man, on paper, the Jets look very, very good.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers has always had a good, solid wide receiver in Green Bay during his time. Devante Adams being that. Now he gets him back with the Jets, but you also have the other two in Lazard, as we just talked about, along with Garrett Wilson. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know what this means for Hassan Reddick, but he hired a new agent a few days ago, Drew Rosenhaus. So I think they're going to try to get him back on the field. Obviously, seems like a long shot at this point with him still holding out for so long. Maybe they move him, but if he's able to get back on the field and add I don't want to call him elite, but add a pretty good edge rusher to that Jets defense, it might end up being one of the better defenses in the league if it's not already. So I think this team could be really good if they can figure that out, especially.
And the Jets, again, with Hassan Reddick, they did give him permission to seek a trade, him and his agent to seek a trade. So and again, we have Week 8? Is it Week 8? Is it the Tuesday after Week 8 or the next day after Monday Night Football or whatever? So, again, there's not that much time left as they look to move on from him as far as that's concerned. The reason that's a big deal, why we're talking Jets opening up, for one, that news broke right off the bat. Bengals fans, that is a team, though, that if the Bengals can't get back into winning the North, the Jets become a very intriguing team to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to be battling it out with them for one of those final 3 playoff spots when it comes to the wild card. So that is a big move in how it impacts the Cincinnati Bengals, because as the trade deadline does approach, hey, the Bengals, they just don't make, that's not how they operate. So assuming that they're not going to make any moves before, that's a huge deal to the Cincinnati Bengals from that perspective, because a team that they're battling it out with in the average department, they just moved ahead of the Bengals as far as that goes. At least with this move, again, it all comes down to how it's orchestrated on the field.
Yeah, coming into the season, we thought we were going to be focused on division champions and the records for the 1 seed, talking about the Chiefs and the Bills and, those kind of teams, and vying for that first-round bye. Now we're focused on the 2s in all those divisions, the Chargers and the Jets and all those teams that are fighting for wild card spots, because obviously we're on the outside looking in right now, and we have to battle our way up after a rough start. So all these moves for all these middling AFC teams have a massive impact on the Bengals.
All right, this is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, ESPN 1410 Wing AM in Dayton. We'll get to Elliot's headlines when we come back. We'll talk a little MLB playoffs, college football, Ohio State, Ryan Day. Are the Buckeyes still a national championship contender? I know that sounds like a weird question, but we'll get into all of that coming up. More Off the Bench when we come back. Justin Kenner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here. ESPN 1410 Wing AM in Dayton and Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Off and rolling here on a Tuesday. On a Tuesday, yes. Before we get into some MLB playoffs and college football and NFL and all that other fun stuff, let's send it to Elliot for Elliot's headlines.
Whoa!
Oh, my God.
3 things. Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
That's right, magical voice. The Mets, they get revenge over the Dodgers, 7-3, the final score to even up the series at 1 apiece. Francisco Lindor, another home run. I think he's hit 2 home runs in the last 3 games.
Ended a 33-inning scoreless streak for the Dodgers.
That's right. Mark Vientos hit a grand slam, and the Mets were able to hold on. Starling Marte had an RBI as well. Sean Manaea, another great performance, 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. Edwin Diaz came in to close it. Shohei Ohtani did walk twice for what it was worth, and the bullpen game for the Dodgers did not work. Landon Knack was the one who got roughed up the most. Moving on to the Guardians and the Yankees. Kinner's Guardians, they were unable to beat the Yankees. 5-2 the final score. Alex Cobb, 2 2/3, 5 hits, 3 earned runs. And on the Yankees side, it was Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton again with home runs. We have now, this is an interesting one. Our good friend, well, I guess I'll do this first. Carlos Rodon, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 9 strikeouts. He was incredible. Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver comes in for a save again. And again, all of his saves feel like they're more than an innings of work. 1 2/3, 4 strikeouts, 5 outs, 4 strikeouts. In his last 17 innings pitched, Luke Dreamweaver has a 0.00 earned run average. He has walked 4 batters. He has struck out 33. 17 innings, he has 33 strikeouts and 0 earned runs. A 287 opponent OPS.
That's crazy.
He's the best reliever in Major League Baseball.
Oh, yeah.
By a wide margin. It's not remotely close at the moment. Luke Weaver is the best pitcher in baseball. And I don't know where that happened. I don't know why it happened. I think it's just to curse me as a Reds fan. The whole bit that I did last year, this is all a part of it. This bit.
It's a bit
Luke
that never
Dreamweaver
ends.
is the closer of the New York Yankees as they try to fight their way to a World Series on the back of Luke Weaver. He's going 2 inning saves every time. Insanity. Insanity, but good for our good friend Luke Dreamweaver. The New York Jets last night, speaking of the Jets, they fall 23-20. Shout out to Greg Zuerlein. I'll blame him for that loss.
Here you go.
Here we go.
Last night's Bills-Jets game was the first NFL game where each team had 10-plus penalties and missed multiple kicks since October 18th, 1987, when the Bills and Giants did it in a game played with all replacement players during an NFL strike.
Whoa. How about that?
There's your stat of the day.
How about stat of the day? Yeah, I'll tell you what. Last night's game, if you're a fan of football, it was miserable to watch.
Yeah.
Because every single play was stopped by a penalty. Referees shouldn't have that much power. I'm sorry. The NFL is the best product in the world, and I know if you miss calls, you can blame officials. Officiating, umpiring, it's a thankless job. We all know that. But if you're going to stop play every single snap, there is something wrong with the product. We got to fix that. It can't happen like that. I imagine the league office will be in contact. I don't know. I can't play the clip. Aaron Rodgers, post-game, came out and said the penalties were ridiculous.
Both sides.
On both sides. He said the roughing the passer on him was not roughing the passer. It's ridiculous. This is outrageous.
Who got the roughing the passer call on that? Forgot who it was.
Kinlaw was one of them.
So when he got up, the camera zoomed in, and Aaron Rodgers, he even looked at him, and he just kind of patted him. He goes, "That's a bad call."
Yeah.
Like that's. I thought that was cool of Aaron Rodgers because right away it's always about, hey, the officiating's only impacting me, but he made sure to decipher the fact that, hey, officiating stunk, and no, that's not why we lost. It stunk across the board. Elliot, you mentioned it like it was constant stoppage and play. Like, do you think that officiating crew at some point is like, all right, guys, like we're calling, all right, we're calling too many. Let's slow it down a bit. Like, I just don't get how they
Over
don't read that
200
room.
yards in penalties.
Is the college game?
It can't happen like that, man. It just somebody has. There has to be a call somewhere along the line after this game that says, "All right, you guys cannot make this many calls. You can do your best, try your best, officiate the way that we taught you to do it, but at the same time, you can't do it at an expense of the viewers at home." And that's what was going on last night. It can't. It was a point last night where the entire Jets fan base, all of MetLife, was booing every single time a ref would try to say anything for either side. Anytime the ref would have to speak, it was just boos that reigned throughout that stadium. It shouldn't be like that. That's not what sports are supposed to be. Umpires, officiating, it's not. The story's not about you. So let's not make it about you and throw 35 penalties.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, well, how many of those are good calls? I mean, you don't just let penalties go to let them go. At some point you look at the teams and say, hey, how are we this sloppy a month and a half into the season? Like, how are we still, but at the same time, it just felt like it was a lot of ticky-tack stuff too.
Yeah, but that's the point. Like, if they were actual legit calls, I don't think anybody has an issue. Aaron Rodgers was saying the roughing the passer on himself was not roughing the passer.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the only penalty. There were egregious calls in that game, including Casey and I are woke to this, but we thought that extra point, the first touchdown the Jets scored, the Greg Zuerlein extra point looked on the broadcast like it missed. And you could hear Joe Buck on the broadcast go, and that kick is, and he didn't say anything. He waited for the arms to go up. He's like, good? And I guess it was good. Maybe there was another angle that I missed. But it just seemed like a sloppy, terrible game. by NFL officiating. It can't happen. Aaron Rodgers, if you missed it, 23 for 35, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns, did throw an interception. He ended the first half with one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Again. A Hail Mary to Allen Lazard. Breece Hall, 18 carries, 113 yards. He added 56 receiving yards as well. Lazard had 114 receiving yards and a touchdown. Wilson, 107 yards on 8 receptions and a touchdown.
Such a great player.
Just incredible. The Bills side, Josh Allen, 19 for 25, 215, 2 touchdowns. Also added 18 yards and a touchdown. Ray Davis, he started the game at running back. Incredible. 20 for 97.
Runs hard.
Added 55 yards receiving as well.
Yeah.
Dalton Kincaid, 51 yards on 6 catches. He's starting to pick it up. But yeah, listen, I think the Bills are a good team, but the Jets won that game last night. It just comes down to a kicker making routine plays.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, we'll just and officiating. Officiating and the kicker missing kicks.
And as of 2 minutes ago, Devante Adams is in the building for the Jets.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What?
He's in New York. He's in the building.
That's
So
awesome.
there you go.
That's awesome.
Wonder where he wanted to end up.
Yeah,
I wonder if he was at the game last night.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
other headlines.
Good for the Jets, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can touch on this more than I can.
Surely I cannot.
Cam Rising out for the season, so he can Utah quarterback, for those who don't know, Utah quarterback Cam Rising out for the season.
If you've watched
Is
college
he
football in the
able-
last decade, you know he's the Utah quarterback.
Is he able to come back yet again?
He is.
You just get injury.
He's been
year.
cleared for an 8th year of eligibility.
So if you get injured, you just infinity?
If you get injured without 4 starts, you can be cleared for a medical red shirt. He has not played in his 8 seasons of
Unreal.
eligibility 4 full years.
How is that possible, dude?
Yeah, a lot of ACLs, a lot of shoulders.
That has to be
A normal red shirt at Texas.
that has to be stopped at some point, right?
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
8 years.
It is
Why do
going to be stopped. This is the last era of guys that is going to be allowed because you have that extra COVID year playing into it and the year that didn't count. So he played a whole year in 2020 that didn't count because of the COVID rules and then had a year added on the end. So
Okay.
he would not be allowed to come back if it wasn't for COVID. And he is the last generation of these COVID athletes with that remaining year. So it will be dialed back. Still a big time issue. And I don't think it's going to change with NIL. I think guys are still going to be incentivized to keep coming back instead of being late round picks and battling to make NFL rosters.
Yeah,
And-
because with him,
Good.
especially not being like I don't think he's going to be a prospect at all for the NFL.
No.
Might make a practice squad, might get a look or two nonetheless. But it's like there's going to be, like Jacob said, there's going to be other quarterbacks who, rather than just hope to make an NFL roster because of NIL, they're going to make a good chunk of change to where they're almost a professional quarterback as far as that goes. Plus, keep in mind, too, that the injury thing, like, again, I think what's going to be that, you said 8 years now, he has the 8th year of eligibility. We won't see 8 years of eligibility for a player, but we're still looking at 5, 6, maybe 7 for some guys if they unfortunately hit that injury bug.
Yeah.
And the way they hop around from team to team. And there's,
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, is that good or bad for college? I don't think it's horrible.
I don't know that it's the worst thing. I think we're going to get better quarterback play across the country,
Yeah.
which when you have a 12-team playoff, I think it's going to help.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily seeing it this year with the oldest guys, but still guys like Will Howard playing for a team like Ohio State. Dylan Gabriel, I know he's a great player, so people don't talk about how old he is, but he's been in college forever. He played at UCF after Mackenzie Milton broke his leg.
God, that was forever ago.
And then he went to Oklahoma, and then he went to Oregon. Like, he's been in college
It's
forever.
impossible, dude.
Yeah. So I think it is elevating the game of college football. It's elevating the quality of play for a lot of teams across the country. And I think it's going to continue to benefit the little guy within the Power Four. I'm not going so far as to say the littlest of little guys, but even schools in the MAC like Bowling Green have Connor Basilick now, who was a Missouri quarterback, played in the SEC, and now he's doing good things
Alter alum. Shout
at
out
Bowling
Alter,
Green. Yeah, there you go. Like it is helping everyone. I know it's focused on the guys that are really old and not necessarily playing the best football of their career right now, but it is helping a lot of teams. I don't think it's the worst thing for college football. I think we're going to continue to see it push freshmen that aren't ready to play out of Power 4, which with the transfer portal isn't the worst thing. Go start as a freshman at a small school, prove yourself, transfer up, which I know isn't necessarily how old college football worked, and it's not something that we're all rooting for, but it's a new reality, and I don't think it's necessarily bad, which is what everyone, obviously jumps on right away.
Look at Kyle McCord at Syracuse.
Exactly.
I mean, no one's ever talked to Syracuse football. I know I haven't. I'm 34. I've never cared about Syracuse football.
This version of
but-
Kyle McCord would have
yeah.
won a national championship last year.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
It's just wild to me. But no, I mean, think about and go back to 2014. Ohio State wins the inaugural 4-team college playoff national championship, right? And the great story was a third-string quarterback comes in to lead them to a national championship. I don't know if those stories exist in today's college football because Ohio State was sitting. I mean, you had Braxton Miller, you had J.T. Barrett, you go to Cardale Jones, and then you fast forward. I mean, look at all the quarterbacks that Ohio State was sitting on. Look at Alabama, Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Mac Jones. You can't convince me that he only had one good year of college football in him. That talent was sitting behind multiple talented quarterbacks at Alabama before he got his opportunity to start for that one season. So it's just one of those, now teams aren't stockpiling elite quarterbacks. Now those quarterbacks are like, F this, I can make money and go start somewhere else. And now you're seeing that love be spread out a little bit around college football. But nonetheless, back to Elliot's headlines. My bad.
Elliot's headlines. The WNBA Finals, for those of you.
Look at you.
For those of you who watched that, the series is tied 1 apiece. It is the Liberty favored tonight, 2.5 points, 8 p.m. on ESPN. Series is split at 1
Ooh, look at them getting that
Sabrina
ESPN treatment.
Ionesco.
Yes. So good
Look
luck
at them
there.
getting that ESPN treatment. Not the 2, not the plus,
Yeah,
not the
no, no,
Ocho.
no.
Ion. They played a couple games
Yes.
on Ion.
They do play on Ion Television.
Caitlin Clark's game on Ion actually outrated the finals game on ESPN.
Really?
It did.
How about that?
Yeah, fun fact.
Tough scenes.
Good job, Angel Reese.
Tough for who?
I don't know. MLB, or not MLB, NHL news. I'll read a couple NHL scores because why
I
not?
love talking puck.
Islanders 6-2 over the Avalanche. Casey's Avalanche, they suck. 0-3 to start the
That's
season.
one I didn't know.
Owen-
Hold on, we gotta unpack that. Casey's Avalanche?
Oh yeah, Casey's a fan of the Avalanche.
I knew Reed was
Now
a
he-
diehard Stars fan.
He can't name any of the players on the team,
Okay.
but he does have a jersey, I believe. Is that right?
Okay.
No, I do not have any
Oh.
memorabilia.
So a couple players on the Avalanche team, Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon, are good.
Yes.
So there's that. They also have a center named Ivan, which is my favorite name in the entire league.
That's a phenomenal
All
name.
spelled exactly the same.
That's a phenomenal name. Penguins, they win 6-3 over the Canadiens. The Red Wings, is it the Canadiens?
I believe so.
Canadiens. The Red Wings, they lose to the Rangers 4-1. Panthers win 4-3 over the Bruins. The Hockey Club unfortunately falls for the very first time last night to the Jersey Devils 3-0. And the Kings in a shootout with the Senators fall 8-7. Those are your headlines.
We also had the men's AP college basketball poll drop yesterday.
Yes,
the
that's right.
preseason poll. Kansas was 1, Alabama was 2, UConn 3, Houston 4, Iowa State 5, Gonzaga 6, Duke 7, Baylor 8, North Carolina 9, Arizona at 10. UC snuck in, I believe, at 20.
Yep, that's correct.
And then Xavier was not ranked, but I think they were 30 in Ken Palm.
They were 30 in Ken Palm.
Just outside.
Not bad. Not bad.
Go Bearcats, baby.
Speaking of the Bearcats on the football side, you see the kickoff time for their matchup with Colorado this coming up weekend.
No.
Colorado is not this weekend. It would be the next.
Sorry, on the following weekend, my apologies. Cincinnati at Colorado, the kickoff time has been announced for a 10:15 p.m. kickoff
Nice.
time.
I
How
Love
about
that.
I love that.
Love that.
That's Eastern, not, yeah, so 10:15.
That's beautiful.
Stay up late for that one, Bearcat fans. There you go. All right, this is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, ESPN 1410 Wing AM in Dayton. By the way, more details have come out about the trade for Davante Adams to the Jets. We'll have an update on that when we come back. Plus, Jerry Jones goes off on a radio host and wants him fired. We'll discuss that when we come back.
How's that run?
Justin Kenner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. This is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. So how about this? I thought this was interesting. So you asked a little bit ago about what the compensation was and about more details of the trade. The Raiders are not paying any of Davante Adams' remaining salary per source. The Jets are assuming the balance of it. The only thing remaining for the Raiders will be the cap hit. And I think
Is it
it's
$11 million left
Yeah, it
this
wasn't
year?
It wasn't a huge hit. But $11 million this
for
year.
the Jets, yeah.
Yeah, $11 million this year. As far as that goes. But that was the details that came out on that. So they don't have to pay anything. Just take them. And I don't know what the Raiders are getting back in return.
It was a 4th-round pick, but it was conditional. So I assume that means if he plays the rest of the year, could get maybe even as high as a 2nd, but definitely as high as a 3rd. So, I mean, not the worst if it is a fake hamstring injury, but if this lingers, they could get Davante Adams for a playoff push at the end of the year for a 4th-round pick, which is a hell of a trade.
Jerry Jones, Cowboys owner, does a weekly hit on 105.3 The Fan, obviously in Dallas. And, of course, he likes going on that. He loves to make headlines. Well, he didn't appreciate – keep in mind the Cowboys not good. They're coming off an embarrassing loss against the Lions. Losing to the Lions is not embarrassing, but the way they lost to the Lions was embarrassing. They absolutely got their ass kicked. It's as simple as that. But apparently the host of the program was asking and being very critical of some of the decisions made by Jerry Jones in the offseason and lack thereof moves in the offseason. Jerry Jones got a little upset and said that your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something. That's not your job. I'll get somebody else to ask these questions. I'm not kidding.
There you go, Jerry. In the last 4 games in Dallas, the Cowboys have been outscored 110-35 in the first half. So maybe people should be asking Jerry what he's doing about his job. Because, look, he said before the season that he was going all in to win. He was focused on winning this season, and it seemed like at the end of the offseason, he lived up to that finally after kind of dragging his feet all offseason, locking down CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. But I guess poor play from Dak Prescott has affected CeeDee Lamb. Can't necessarily blame him, but you still have Micah Parsons on the docket to be extended. They don't look great this year. The defense is abysmal. The offense can't really move the ball. The running game is terrible, and a guy that you said you had no interest in bringing in, and Derrick Henry is leading the league in everything. So I don't think it can look much worse for Jerry Jones right now. I think he wants nothing more than one more championship, and it certainly doesn't look like this current roster's one to get it. So I don't know where he goes from here.
When was the last Super Bowl that the Dallas Cowboys won?
95, right?
95? It was against the Bills, right?
I believe so.
That was the last one. Man, woo!
He bought an NFL.
Tough to be a Cowboys fan.
96.
96.
Sorry. Well, 95 season, 96 Super Bowl.
Tough to be a Cowboys fan.
He bought the Cowboys, won a Super Bowl in the first 5 years, won 2 more, and never won another one.
Tough. And they always have the expectation. The expectation's on them every year.
They win games, too.
They do.
They don't go down in the regular season, which is crazy for a team that's gone this long without winning a Super Bowl, that you're always picking, 15 to 30?
Yeah.
Or so, I guess never 30. They don't get out of the NFC, but 15 to 28 or so?
If you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, just kind of like if you're a fan of the Yankees, you always expect to go, and it always makes it even.
Well, that's the same. It's the same person.
What do you mean?
Fan of the Cowboys, fan of the Yankees.
Yeah,
You're
correct.
Go Lakers.
Correct. That's
you know?
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
No,
And
they
the
got tip-off coming soon.
Lakers and, yeah.
You think Dak Prescott supporters are excited about Bronny or not really?
I think they're excited about – I think they're
Well,
excited.
the John Carlos Stanton home run got him through.
Here's what it is. That whole – and this is – we're just switching back and forth topics here.
Love it.
I think what's going to happen is LeBron is going to get –
Oh, now we're just going full Bronny.
Oh, yeah, we're going to go
Okay.
first full into LeBron real quick. Bronny is going to lob up an alley-oop to LeBron. He'll dunk it. They'll high-five. Those pictures will be captured, and then Bronny will be sent back to whatever G League, D League team.
I think Bronny will just merely be sent back to the bench. LeBron's not going to have his
Do you
last name on
think
a
Angel
championship
Reese
jersey.
will win?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. Do you think Angel Reese will win Comeback Player of the Year next season?
Maybe.
I think she might.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially.
But Jerry Jones, no. So
What if
seriously,
Caitlin Clark fakes an injury this offseason?
But no, the problem with Jerry though, he talks a lot. I don't
He
mind.
does.
I've actually always defended Jerry. I hate when people say he's a distraction. If you talk to former players, they kind of roll their eyes at that stuff. They're like, Jerry Jones says some weird things, but like when practice starts and the kickoff of a game starts, it's like, oh man, I would have caught that kickoff return. I wanted to let it slip through my hands if it wasn't for Jerry Jones' comments on a radio show on Tuesday. That stuff I think gets overblown a bit. But my problem with Jerry is I love that he talks. I love that he's a personality, but you can't always be rah-rah guy when your team's winning, but then you get mad when you're questioned when your team's losing. I just think but again, his team, his rules, his access, everything. So
That's right.
Is what it is. But what you got?
His access everywhere, seemingly. Mm-hmm. Well, with the Jamie Foxx leaked video this summer from practice, seems like Jerry Jones is everywhere, eyes everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing everything.
Yeah. And the way he evaluates talent is kind of
Please
weird, too.
elaborate. Continue.
No, it's just.
Well, I just want you to continue with the bit.
Seems like he has information on every nook and cranny of that facility and roster.
Yeah.
I think I would love for his draft evaluations are
Yeah.
pretty wild.
No, a lot of stuff on his draft board that doesn't make it on mine, but I guess, he's been in the league for a long time, so when I do draft prep this year, I'm going to have to think about some of that stuff.
Yeah. You're vertical, you're 40
All the measurements.
inches.
It's vertical, all right.
Depending on the time, depending on, never mind. Let's just,
I was going to say.
Send it to break.
Well, no, I had a point before you threw in LeBron and who was the other person?
Angel Reese.
Angel
Reese.
Reese. Casey, did you bring up FCC yet? Did they win over the weekend?
Probably not.
No, they didn't play.
Oh, they didn't play.
Well, of course.
They were off?
They played last month.
That's right. Correct. Why would they play now? But continuing on with my thought, the Dallas Cowboys having that expectation of always being like, we have to win the Super Bowl. It's our year. We have a rich owner who wants to win, and then they just never do. I imagine that's one of the worst fan bases to be a part of. Just because when you have that, like the Bengals, we don't expect to win Super Bowls. We expect to have a Super Bowl caliber team, but we don't expect it, right?
Who would you rather have as your owner since 2000, Jerry or Mike Brown?
That's such a tough question.
Mike Brown's been to a Super Bowl.
Oh, no. Mike Brown, probably.
Jerry's won a lot more games.
Mike Brown, probably, right?
It's a crazy question.
I don't think you're far off. You feel in safer hands with Jerry Jones than Mike Brown, but let's be clear. I didn't realize this. When the Cowboys were not making moves in the offseason, everyone gives the Dallas Cowboys the benefit of the doubt, and they put them in the same category as like the Yankees, Dodgers, Lakers as far as how they go about spending. You know, the Cowboys and Jerry Jones are actually, they don't spend.
Yeah.
They're always near the bottom of teams who spend in the offseason. Like, they don't go all out. He always talks about the limitations that they have with their cap space and everything. Jerry Jones is the last person I want to hear about limitations when it comes to money and how he spends it. You know, Mike Brown, we don't like it, but we could understand it. Jerry Jones. So to me,
Mike Brown's also spent more than Jerry Jones in a window with a quarterback you believe is your franchise quarterback.
Mike Brown has built-in roadblocks that he still finds ways to overcome.
Right.
In his defense, Jerry Jones creates his own. So I'm not.
Good point, Mark Fetters.
That is weird. Which owner would you rather have, Mike Brown or Jerry Jones?
Crazy question.
Because it's such a wide range of
But Jacob's
category
right.
owner.
Mike Brown's been the more successful owner based on what the expectations were for both franchises.
Without that, Mike Brown would be more successful if you took the Bengals' success since 2000 and put it in Dallas.
Yeah, it's that's pretty crazy to think about.
Crazy.
Because
you would unanimously put Jerry Jones top 5 in the NFL if you don't really break it down.
Yeah,
probably Bob Kraft won.
Kraft is definitely
crazy.
One. Yeah,
but the Bengals going to a Super Bowl and losing, going to a Super Bowl, not winning it, is that better than consistently and constantly being a 500 team that's always competing for division titles and always in the hunt 500 wise?
I think if Dallas had been 2-1, it wouldn't be close. It's the fact that they haven't even been to an NFC championship game. That's why it's like. That goes back to the peak and valley conversation we always have about the Reds and MLB baseball. Would you rather have a billion chances or one run in the sun? And I know the Bengals didn't end on top, but it's a distance that the Cowboys have not been in.
And he was also being questioned why the Raiders, or why they didn't. One of the things that led to the outburst, why didn't the Cowboys try to get Davante Adams? Why have all the teams that were in the mix to get him, were they not there?
Who's their wide receiver 2 right now? Is it Jalen Tolbert?
I mean, yes.
Kavonte Turpin. I mean, either way, who cares?
Not good.
Terrible, yeah.
But yes, imagine if you had CeeDee Lamb and Davante Adams. That changes the landscape of the Cowboys' offensive attack, which is abysmal. How do you lose the way you did on Sunday if you're the Cowboys and then not try to make a move to bolster your offense or be aggressive? To the Jets' credit, the Jets lose last night, and it sounds like this deal might have been going down no matter what, based on the fact that he was already in New York
he was there
yesterday.
before we finished reading the tweet.
So, but the bottom line is the Jets, they're aggressive right now. They're trying to make moves. They're trying to salvage this while the Cowboys sit back and make excuse after excuse. And by the way, I do think they were counting on Derrick Henry not looking as dominant as he was. I think the Cowboys and Jerry Jones were sitting back hoping that Derrick Henry started to fall off the way Zeke has over the last couple of years to justify not getting him. But man, you look at how good Derrick Henry is.
Yeah.
Look how drastically different the Cowboys look. A three-headed monster of Dak, Derrick Henry, and CeeDee Lamb. That's a completely different animal in Dallas if you make that move.
100%. Yeah, no doubt about it.
I don't know what their plan was running the football this year anyway.
Their plan was Rico Dowdle.
Was it always Rico? Because Zeke started the year.
Well, I think it was that they were going to do that kind of song and dance. And pray Rico Dowdle broke out and took over.
Because you have to run the football a little bit now. I'm not saying you have to have Derrick Henry and run 35 times a game, but you have to be able to run the football. And coming into the year, Rico Dowdle and Zeke Elliott weren't. I knew it right away. You're signing Ezekiel Elliott, who has the explosion of a tortoise. So I don't know. I don't know what the plan was there. Just hope that Dak in the wide receiving room can torch anybody else. And that kind of has been the case, kind of a little bit.
Well, how many games has that been the case? Because they've been blown out late, forced to throw, and teams are playing sort of a pre-event defense.
You're right.
A little bit of a bigger problem that I think people are somewhat glossing over when it comes to the Cowboys is, yes, they can't run the football this year, and yes, Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott isn't exactly the most talented backfield, but Tony Pollard looks pretty dang good in Tennessee.
Yeah, he does.
And he looked borderline inept last year as the lead back in Dallas.
Yeah.
There was legitimate conversations if Tajay Spears was going to win this job in Tennessee when he took over because of how bad he looked in Dallas when he got the full-time role with Ezekiel Elliott in New England. I mean, he looks really good this year.
Looks insane. He's been, honestly, the only part of that offense that's worked.
He missed time this year. He's top 20 in yards, and he has 3 touchdowns already. He's averaging 4.5 yards per carry. That's a dang good running back with an offense that is garbage. You're the only player worth a damn on that offense, and you're doing a really good job running the football, which is by far the hardest thing to do well when people are focusing on it. And they certainly are in Tennessee with the way Will Levis is playing quarterback. I think a lot of these issues with Dallas are more organizational and scheme-oriented than they are with truly just running the football, even though, I don't know, the Rico Dowdle gets the best out of any scheme, but I think he would be doing a lot better. I mean, Tony Pollard worked with Brian Callahan's system, and all due respect to Brian Callahan, I think there's a lot more talent on this Dallas offense top to bottom than there is in Tennessee.
And the Cowboys, too, when it comes to the running back position, I think they've just felt like you could plug anyone in the Cowboys.
100%.
Because you went from what? DeMarco
Murray.
DeMarco Murray, you go to Zeke.
Murray was
then you get Tony Pollard, and you just felt like, man, that train will just keep on rolling. And now you have an old boxcar in Zeke right now that you're
Every single, and I know it's early, but the Bengals are 2-4. Every single mock draft I've been seeing has the Cowboys taking a running back in round 1. And I think with the state of that roster right now, that would be the funniest thing that could possibly happen.
Oh, my God.
I mean, if they take Ashton Jeanty at 18 or 20 or something like that, with the defense being the worst run defense in the history of the NFL, and Dak Prescott not having a wide receiver 2, and the offensive line's best player being 40-year-old Zach Martin, no one else really doing great, that would be peak Jerry Jones and very, very funny.
Hilarious.
All right, this is Off the Bench.
How about that Cowboys segment?
I was just going to say this is Off the Bench.
That's classic ESPN radio.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're right. You tried to sneak in the Lakers bit a little bit.
Yeah, we did a little Bronny, a little
bit of
Cowboys.
Bronny. Is LeBron better than MJ? Coming up next
what happened
on
if
First
they play
Take.
horse? Yeah.
14 playoff or 12-team playoff when we come back. You know,
Is LeVar Ball a better defender than Michael Jordan?
Who's the more powerful basketball father, LeVar or LeBron?
LeVar, certainly.
Well, LeBron got his son that doesn't belong in the league into the league. LeVar couldn't get LiAngelo in.
You're right. That's fair.
But he did get him out of China.
That is true.
Technically, Trump did, but that's besides the point. That's besides the point.
We don't do politics on this show.
No politics. No one knows our politics.
Nobody knows our politics.
You know, that's why I sent you the.
Yeah.
I sent you the Pelosi meme last night.
No,
all
we
right,
didn't.
you know what? It does kind of fit where I'm transitioning to on this next topic. The Yankees. We're going to talk about the Yankees.
Let's go.
Talking about the Guardians. They just happen to be playing the Yankees. But let's talk a little MLB playoffs when we come back. We got Ohio State Ryan Day conversation coming up shortly as well. More Off the Bench next. All right, and we are back. This is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Again, your sports talk home for all things Dallas Cowboys.
That's right. What else would you come to ESPN Radio for?
That's right.
I mean, and we're doing the Yankees segment.
Do you think if the Cowboys had Deshaun Watson, they would be still playing him right now? Or do you think Jerry would have benched him?
So the Guardians and Yankees.
Jerry would have made something up.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Jerry would have made something up by now.
There would have been something that would have happened.
Deshaun would not be on the Cowboys anymore.
To be honest, I think those two would share a lawyer.
You're not wrong.
Okay.
You're not wrong. That's a good one. That's fair.
I mean,
You got your Browns helmet on there?
Yeah.
I do.
Pop that sucker out.
Yeah, why don't you bring it out?
Well, what we got? Look at this beautiful thing. Look at that. Look at that.
Some
Nice
of the
and
worst
shiny.
some of the worst uniforms in sports.
Okay, that was mean. I'll put it back.
But they got orange pants first.
They did. They
had orange pants first.
You guys keep copying the Browns.
That's
you know?
right. It's a nice white helmet
This
you
is
got.
Browns. This is Cleveland Hate Week. So what we're gonna do? We gotta bring it up as much as we can.
I love Cleveland Hate Week.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to really dive in on the next one because my hate's locked in. It's Tennessee hate week. So
it's Tennessee hate week.
Yeah, my hate's. And that is, Casey's right. Timeout.
Do you have two?
Timeout. You're hating. We call
You're
timeouts
right.
on hate.
We call timeouts for hate.
All right, time in.
Okay.
Keep hating.
So now I can keep hating. Yeah, I think. Listen, if the Bengals beat the Browns, and we'll get back to what were we talking about, baseball? We'll get back to baseball in a second. But if the Bengals beat the Browns, and I'm going to say if they blow them out, if the Bengals blow out the Cleveland Browns on Monday, I will come in here. I'll bring some cake. I'll bring a birthday cake, and I'll have candles, and I might have, you know, those poppers at the 4th of July. You just pop them.
Ain't
I
that
might
kind
just
of party.
start having poppers during the show, and we'll just throw a big old party. That's what I'm going to do.
A lot of people questioning what you just said there, but yes, if you
This is a very serious sports talk show.
That's worse than Gollum.
I can't believe you said
Is it
candles.
really, though?
I can't believe you said candles, dude. It's like-
That's what happened. Candles go on birthday cakes.
That's what you get
And
for
poppers,
starting hate
candles
week.
and poppers.
It ain't that kind of party.
Happy Tuesday.
All right, back to baseball.
Yeah. What time is it? Okay, cool. We got
Yes,
time. We
Everett.
got
I want
time.
donuts.
So, listening to Sports Talk Radio 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland this morning, I just was kind of trying to get a good feel for what the state of the, Browns fans over there, and they weren't talking Browns, they were talking about the Guardians. And they start bringing up the fact that, okay, the Guardians down 1-0 and how much pressure there is on the Yankees. The Yankees have to win this series, right? The Yankees have spent all this money, and they have to have ROI. They have to have a return on investment. They have to have something to show for all the money that they've spent. I think the Yankees are second in payroll when it comes to the money that they've spent in baseball. We know this. That's not a surprise. I think three of the top spenders in baseball are in the playoffs or are remaining in the playoffs right now. But I'm listening to that, and they're trying to make it sound like, no matter what happens, who cares? The pressure's on the Yankees. There's no pressure on the Guardians whatsoever. But, why do we do this thing where we vilify the teams that do spend money? I think it comes from a little jealousy deep down in us because we all follow teams, the majority of us. We follow teams that don't have the resources or the means or the money to spend. So then we just try to discredit the success of other franchises who do spend money and act like they're wrong for doing it instead of holding our teams accountable for not doing it. Although, to be fair, we do complain about our teams not spending money. I think we do complain about it to a certain extent. But the thing is, to say that the front office for the New York Yankees is losing sleep at night and feeling the pressure of having to win this series, of having to win a World Series. They want to win a World Series. They're super competitive. But can the front office of the Yankees truly look out on that field with all the talent that they have on that roster, with all the money that they've spent on that roster? Is the front office of the Yankees really going to fall asleep at night and say, damn, if only we did more? I don't see that there's any pressure on the front office at all. I think there's pressure on Aaron Boone. I think Aaron Boone has to get this team to the World Series, if not win it. I think that Aaron Judge has to, obviously, and by the way, no one's really criticizing Aaron Judge, but Aaron Judge was so dominant in the regular season and has not been very good in the playoffs, but yet here they still are. That shows you the amount of talent that's on this roster. I think that narrative will start to form. I know that happened with Alex Rodriguez during his Yankees run, where he was so good in the regular season and so bad come the postseason, and then he had that breakout postseason. In fact, it just happened to be the last time the Yankees won a World Series. But I don't think there's any pressure on the front office for the Yankees. Why would there be? What more could the Yankees front office do? Any need that the Yankees need, that they need, have, they address it. They spend money on it. Aaron Judge, get it done. Giancarlo Stanton, we got you. Well, you even a lowly investment like we talked about with Weaver. Hey, need a reliever? We got Weaver. We got it taken care of. Anything that the Yankees need, that front office gets. But yet, we're trying to do this thing in Cleveland, in Ohio, or anywhere. Oh, man, the Guardians, they have no pressure. It's all on the – if anything, I think the Guardians have way more pressure to win this series than the New York Yankees, because if the Yankees lose, you can't look at that front office and say, dude, what the hell? You should have got us more. What else can the Yankees get you? I mean, they could always get you more, don't get me wrong. But they've given you enough. The front office for the Guardians, no matter what happens, if the Guardians win it all, my narrative of how bad they've approached this, it's going to get blown up in my face because, hey, they go on to win a World Series. But if the Guardians lose this series, it's as simple as that's a lot more pressure, and it looks way worse on the front office of the Guardians. If you guys want to bail them out and fall for the, man, look, they overcome the low spending to get to the World Series, they lit their own house on fire and want to take credit for putting it out. That doesn't make any sense to me. You don't get to reap the rewards of being a small market team when you're not even trying to even spend up to league average for small market teams. The Reds are never in bottom 5 in spending every single year. They may find themselves one season or 2 seasons here or there where they're in the bottom 5, but the Reds try to spend money. Someone asked me the other day, why are you not mad at the Tigers? They were bottom 5 in spending. They've never, in the last 10 years, they've never gone 3 straight years of being in the bottom 5 in spending. The Tigers, they go a couple years, they assess the roster, they start spending money to fill some holes. The Guardians, they don't fill holes. They don't try to address the roster. They just continue to sit back and not invest into this team. Good for the organization. They have a very good farm system. They develop players, more power to them. But as far as who's facing the most pressure to win this series, it's 100% on the Guardians. If the Yankees lose, the front office will not question, could we have done more? They've done their job. They've done their part. It's on Aaron Boone and the rest. The Guardians, if they lose this series, that's the front office that has to sit there and look at themselves in the mirror and say, man, maybe if we just added one more starting pitcher at the deadline? What if we added 1 or 2 more bats at the deadline? What if we didn't just sit on our hands and just act like everything was A-okay? To me, I think there's way more pressure on the Guardians to win this series than the New York Yankees.
I don't necessarily disagree with your sentiment. I think in this season there is more pressure on the Yankees because I think they lose Juan Soto walks. And if they win, they get Juan Soto for a decade. So I think there is more pressure on the Yankees in this sense just because he might be the best hitter in baseball for that next decade. So to lock him down with a win over a team that you should beat in every single facet on paper is absolutely massive. And I think because they are such a big favorite, that is where the pressure lies. Really, whenever we're talking about sports, if you're favored by 2.5 games, which I believe was the final line for, or 1.5 games to win by 2 games over the Guardians, you're a pretty big favorite. I don't know how the pressure is necessarily on the underdog, but I think you're definitely right when it comes to the fan bases. I think if I was a Guardians fan, I'd be much more nervous. I think if I was a Yankees fan, obviously it's been a long time since you've been on the top of that mountain and you expect to be there every single year, so it feels like you're finally back to a competitive level. I'm missing the playoffs last year. It takes a lot to get back up as Yankees fans. They've been down for a while, and now they believe again, and the guys are playing at a high level. So you obviously are going to be anxious because it's not a guarantee to get back every year. But I think if you're a Yankees fan and you lose to the Guardians, you have a level of faith that your front office is going to give you the pieces to continue to get back. And I think if you're a Guardians fan, you don't know that you're ever going to get back. So to be playing in the CS right now and have a chance to move on to the first World Series since 2016, that is certainly nerve-wracking to me if I'm a Guardians fan because I don't know if I'm ever going to have this chance again.
And you mentioned the Guardians, and I think Mousecop put it in the chat. Jose Ramirez, they signed Jose Ramirez signed a team-friendly deal. He didn't have to sign that contract.
They got him cheaper than the Reds got Votto, and that's a current contract in this decade compared to a decade ago.
Jose Ramirez is a $30 million player at minimum.
He's 40-40.
He's making $20 million. $20 million. I think Nick Castellanos makes more than Jose Ramirez. 7 years, $140 million. That's unbelievable that he wanted to be with Cleveland. And maybe that's a testament to the organization. Maybe they do things the right way there, and they treat their players with respect, and they enjoy being there. Maybe that's something. Maybe that has something to do with it. But at the end of the day, you want to be the Yankees. You want to be the Steve Cohen Mets. You want to be the Dodgers. You want a $300 million roster. You want that. You want to be a part of it. I'm envious of it. Because the Guardians, the Reds, our windows, those windows get cracked. They're never fully open, but they are cracked. And when they are cracked, you have to try to get out as quickly as you can. The Royals were one of the few teams that were able to do it. They capitalized on that short crack in that window, and they were able to escape. Guardians got close. The Reds have sniffed nothing near it. The window was cracked a couple times, and they just stayed inside. Somebody repaired that window real quick. So I think it goes into Major League Baseball as a whole. It's why I don't want to say unfair, because it is. I mean, it is unfair. But at the same time, at some point, I would like some sort of regulation in Major League Baseball to make it so that not every team that has a cheap owner is just eliminated before the season starts, like our guy said a couple years ago. Because that is the case. The Pirates. Do you ever believe the Pirates are going to break through? I don't think so. It's hard for me to realistically say the Reds will break through the cracked window. But this is where I kind of disagree with you, because you say you want to cheer against the Guardians because you don't want that to become a possibility or an expectation that a small market owner can have. You don't want the expectation that we can spend very little, do the bare minimum, and still fight our way in. And then use it as like, look, everybody, look, we just did that. As a small market fan, I have to look at that and say it is possible for us. And that does work on me. If the Guardians pointed to their team this year and say, look, we made it to an ALCS. The Orioles didn't get there. And the Yankees are there. The Red Sox didn't make the playoffs. But we're here. We're in the ALCS. Some of the biggest franchises in baseball aren't there. We're in the last 4 of the postseason. That's where I say I want to cheer for the Guardians a little bit, because I do like seeing the little guy win. Well, every once in a while, you want to cheer for David to beat Goliath.
So, not wrong, because you're right. Like, as a Reds fan, I should be sitting here really pulling for the Guardians because, like, hey, look, man, that could be us next year. We don't have to spend a lot of money. Look at the Guardians. But I compare it to this. March Madness is the biggest sports postseason tournament out there, right? Like, it's the most popular. Every once in a while, you get a mid-major team like Loyola getting to the Final Four a few years ago, right? Like, you get these mid-majors, George Mason back in the day. Every year, I mean, we see these teams, Butler, when they were in the Horizon, getting there. Butler didn't set a blueprint for how to get to the Final Four as a mid-major team. No one said, it's not like Coach K watched Butler get to back-to-back Final Fours and even back-to-back national championship games and say, the hell with the 4- and 5-star kids. I'm just going to do what Butler's doing. Butler didn't give hope to everyone around college basketball saying, well, we're doing it wrong by getting 4 and 5 stars. We just need to get the average guys and just really coach them up. No, it was nice for like the Wright States and the Northern Kentuckys and all that of the world to look at a team like Butler and these mid-majors that make it to the Final Four and say that could be us. But hope is not a blueprint. Hope is not a game plan. And hoping that you could do what the Guardians are doing, to me, is not a game plan. You look at the Yankees, you look at it's not a coincidence that every year the teams that are in the AL-NL Championship Series on a year-in, year-out basis are top 10 spenders in baseball. And again, the Reds, I don't expect them to be that every single season. Same thing with the Guardians. But again, the Guardians to be the bottom of spending every single season, that's just, they're just lucky that this is working in their favor right now, because, like I said, when they lose this series, I'm going to look at it and say, well, damn, maybe if you added a bat, maybe if you added a starting pitcher, maybe 2 starting pitchers, $106 million. That's all they've spent. And and yes, Mouse Cop's right when I said they didn't invest into their roster. They did invest into Ramirez. $20 million's a lot for one player. They even left meat on the bone there. But you've spent $100 million, and 20 of it went to one player. You didn't invest into your team. You didn't invest into your team.
That's fair. But I do think that organization knows how to bring up pitchers. They know how to use a pitching staff.
It's annoying.
They know how to bring up prospects. They do everything the right way. The best thing a small market team can do is bring up prospects, develop pitching. They do it better than anybody in baseball. Maybe the Rays. Them and the Rays. And that is a testament to them, to where you can rationalize not spending money. Because Kinner, they've made a World Series, in 2016? They made a World Series in 2016.
Rain delay away from winning it.
That's right. They're in a CS in 2024. The Reds haven't seen any success whatsoever. That's with spending money, no spending money. If you told me there was a way to get to the CS twice in 8 years without spending money, I'd take that way. So, because it has worked. You can't say it hasn't worked, because it has.
And the Rays have been to a World Series and a CS as well.
There is something to it. Now, the issue is they haven't won it. The winner of the World Series usually has a $300 million roster or something like that.
It's like the Bengals. They get to a Super Bowl with their QB getting sacked 70 times. It's not like people are like, see, the Bengals prove you don't need an O-line.
Right.
No. If anything, you have an O-line. Yeah. Split second longer, Jamar Chase right along the sideline, who believes in his quarterback, would have caught it. It would not have been dropped. I
do think the one thing that I'm with you most of the way, even though I do disagree. I understand the take most of the way until you say hope is not a reasonable game plan, because I think that is quite literally the only game plan in sports.
You draft and hope. You sign a player and hope.
That's just hope. That's all you do as a fan, is you hope that it works. Because even if you spend $300 million, how many big signings have the Reds made? I mean, obviously it's not top of the market players, but how many big signings have the Reds made that didn't work out? You still have to hope that those guys work, or you hope that the prospects work. It's all a hope, and it's all a risk, and it's just how much risk are you willing to take? Is there less risk in a $300 million payroll? Absolutely. There's a lot more risk in playing 22 to 25-year-olds and hoping that they can grow and get better every single year. But I also don't think it's reasonable to expect that the Reds are going to spend. So I'm going to continue to hope that at some point a cheap team can win. And if it's not us, it's another cheap team that shows me that hopefully sometime in the near future, someone else that will be us can do that.
I want the window to be cracked. I want to see the crack, and I want the Reds to break through it. That's the only way, and seeing the Guardians do it over the Yankees would show me that that's possible, like Jacob just said.
So and then they got to play the $300 million Mets or the $300 million Dodgers.
$1 billion
Dodgers.
Correct. Listen, we're never going to get a rich owner, and that's fine. I've settled with that. But if we have the talent, eventually one day that time is going to come for us where we're going to see that cracked window. I'm hoping the next couple years.
The way small market teams succeed in the MLB is you find a kid in the crowd at a workout in a foreign country and you pull him in, and he happens to be a 6'6" shortstop that leads the team in WAR. That's how a small market team works.
Yeah.
Is you find a lottery ticket named Elly De La Cruz and hit.
Yeah.
The Reds did the hard part. Now you
Great
have
outfielder. Great outfielder.
Now you have to just supplement around him. Fill the holes around Elly. You did the hard part. You got the superstar here. That's probably never going to happen again if you don't re-sign him. We've gotten incredibly lucky that in my lifetime, the Reds have had a superstar the entire time, from Joey Votto to Elly De La Cruz. That's not an expectation that you can just have as a Reds fan. We've gotten very, very lucky, and we have to capitalize on this window because we didn't capitalize last time.
I'm hoping Terry Francona is the change the Reds needed. He can't be everything. We know that. Managers don't affect the game as much as the players in the field or the front office or ownership. But they can spark something into a clubhouse.
I think into an organization. I think Terry's going to be an organizational, change as far and I hope.
And he's had a lot of success. He's won 2 World Series. He took a small market team like Cleveland to the promised land. Didn't win it, but he took him there. He got him to the mountaintop. This is what I'm hoping happens in the next couple years. You have to take advantage of it, hopefully before the Bally deal crumbles apart. That's what I would because we do got to worry about that at some point, but not right now, not today. We'll see if the Yankees are able to lose to the Guardians, but I don't think so.
They're going to win. Go Yankees. Guardians stink. Last point on this, too. Here's the thing. To make it even worse, look at how good Francisco Lindor is for the Mets. The fact that, he hit that walk-off to send them to the NL Championship Series. Look how dominant he's been so far early on in the NL Championship Series. So I say that because, if you go look at what the Mets are paying him, $34 million a season. You look at the Guardians' payroll, $106 million. If they would have given the contract to Francisco Lindor and you built around Lindor and Ramirez with their great developmental farm system, all this, if they signed up, what that would have done to their payroll? It would have put them at 18th in baseball. That would have put them at $140 million a year at payroll right now, and that would be 18th in Major League Baseball. And you let him just go. It's not like that would have put you, if we have Francisco Lindor and Ramirez, now we're spending in top 10, top 12 in the league, and that's just not a threshold that we could afford to be at. You can't afford to be at 18, or you just don't want to be in that 18 to 17 range. That's the problem I have. They were ranked 16th the year that they went to the World Series, by the way.
I actually characterize that Lindor trade as a great trade for the Guardians. I think they've done a phenomenal job so far. Andres Gimenez has been incredible. They locked him down long-term on a contract. They've got some really,
But that would be equivalent to the Reds letting Elly go. That's why I just... no. Look at you with that A's hat.
That's right. Yeah. Well,
it's the power of the hat, baby.
The Nationals. Where are the Nationals right now? They moved Juan Soto, and it saved their franchise because you weren't going to be able to re-sign him, and you got some elite pieces out of it. So moving star players when you aren't going to be able to sign them is a way to extend windows.
That one I don't know if I agree with. That one I don't know. We got to wait on that one a little bit, I think.
Oh, it doesn't apply to
go Francisco Lindor, go Mets, go Yankees.
I think not paying Juan Soto.
They offered him $400 million. He said no. Then you trade him instead of letting him walk for free. They offered him a bigger contract.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
That is one scenario that scares me to death about Elly De La Cruz.
Well, I think it might
the Nationals offered him the biggest contract possible, and he said no.
All right. Well, good stuff. We're gonna allow our guy Casey to pay some bills around here on the YouTube side.
Forgot Casey was here.
Yeah. Hi, Casey.
I'm here. Hello, guys.
Go Irish.
Yeah, go Irish.
Go
Woo.
Lakers. Go, go.
Yeah,
go
Notre
Cowboys,
Dame.
apparently.
Yeah. The Fighting Leprechauns.
All right, we'll step away for a few. We'll send it to Casey. He'll pay some bills around here, housekeeping items. And then when we come back, is Ohio State a national championship contender? I don't believe they are.
Kenner.
I don't.
I don't believe they are either. Good
Kenner
job.
prepped me for
Good
this
job,
one, so
Kenner.
I can't get that mad.
I don't believe the Buckeyes are a national championship contender, and I'll tell
still
you
getting
why
mad.
on the radio side when we come back.
All right, everyone. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet so we can get back to Radio Land.
Don't. Make it long.
Make it long.
Make it long. Make it a long one.
Make it as intimate and long as possible.
That's right. Zoom that camera. Zoom that puppy in a little bit. Get tight in there.
A lot of weird talk on today's show. Poppers. and-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
yeah.
really mess up that green screen.
Oh, yeah. Let's really screw it up.
This right here. It's Bonnie water made right here in Hamilton, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
This is natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing other brands use. The result being a healthy alkaline water. Some say the best tasting water in the world.
That's right, Casey.
I certainly say that.
I also say that.
You do, don't you? Elliot thinks it's pretty smooth because it doesn't have any
Oh, it's so
rocks in
smooth. There's no rocks in it. It's so smooth. It goes down the
Just water.
gullet.
Look at the
It goes down the
ingredients.
gullet. Nice and easy. Gullet.
You might actually see it right
A
there.
gulp. A gulp.
It says water. No rocks.
A gulp. A gullet. A gulp.
But I love Bonnie water. Love them. Check them out at Bonniewater.
Jeez, you act like you don't know the routine.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah. I still gotta do
gosh.
this part. I gotta do this part. Yeah.
That's part of the ad now, Casey.
You ready, Elliot?
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. Oh,
Ooh, he almost quit on you. Almost.
If he was a bad quarterback or a quarterback that the world hated, I would have dropped that on purpose. I wouldn't have made the effort to reach over the mic on the knee.
God, I hate you.
But I did. Watch this.
There we go.
A lot of belief in this room.
It's a back shoulder catch.
A lot of belief in this room. Bonniewater, go check them out.
Encore Technologies.
Encore Technologies. Here at Encore Technologies, they deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world, from mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data center solutions. They help businesses enhance efficiency and
Productivity.
That's right, Jimbos. Visit encore.tech, where your path to innovation begins here. Other housekeeping items. The Bengals show, Chatterbox Bengals, later tonight, right, Jacob?
Yeah, I think we will.
Yeah? You think you will?
Tonight, 6 p.m., Chatterbox Bengals.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Oh, no, it doesn't fit.
Tonight, 6 p.m., Chatterbox Bengals. Be there. Chatterbox YouTube. We're going to break down all the film and everything
Yeah.
from this last Bengals win. First win in a long time. First win against a real team. I don't know if I'm counting the Panthers win. So this one feels good. Primetime win at the Meadowlands. So excited for it. Make sure you tune in tonight. Chatterbox Bengals. Craig's in the chat, says, what do you guys want to chat about tonight? So if you have anything you want us to go over, something you want to talk about for sure, make sure to put it in there and we'll talk about it. So Chatterbox Bengals tonight, 6 p.m. Appreciate it. This is really hurting my head.
I bet. It
would
looks
imagine it
uncomfortable,
would.
to say the least.
I don't think there is 1 ounce of blood above my eyebrows.
Oh, yeah, it's tough.
And just think how tough next Monday is going to be.
Oh, yeah. Is that one just as tight?
Probably.
And
Try
there's
it, Kenner.
I
Probably.
physically
Put it
I
on that
would-
nog.
I would die if I wore a helmet this tight for 2 hours.
Let's see Kenner try to put that on.
Hold on, this little ear. You know what? Who cares? Let's just.
No.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
It hurts.
What did they give you? Like the smallest helmets they got or something?
Youth XL.
I don't know.
Looks like a Youth XL, but no.
F that.
RM asks a phenomenal question. He says, Jacob, are you the only host of Chatterbox Bengals? No, I'm not. Craig Sandlin will be there. He'll be joining me, and he's in the chat. So make sure you say what's up. Give us any
Who
comments.
are all the hosts that have hosted one Chatterbox Bengals this year?
Reed and Casey are the only two that have hosted one. Am I forgetting one?
Thursdays.
Oh, that's right.
Because at Champions Grill this Thursday,
That's right.
starting at 7 p.m., I will be hosting Chatterbox Bengals, kind of.
Do I bring a helmet that I can actually wear that day?
Maybe
I will.
Yes.
Maybe-
Yes, you
maybe
should.
I will. We'll see.
On Thursday, Champions Grill, 7 p.m., Work Road, west side of Cincinnati. We are giving away Eagles tickets. Eagles tickets, we are giving them away. So if you don't like us, come for the Eagles tickets. It'll be a very fun time. Hope to see you all there on Thursday, Champions Grill,
That's right.
with an E. Your head still feeling anything yet?
I can feel my heartbeat in my left ear.
Nice.
So that's the update there. Would
can't
love
wait.
to get out of this segment.
Can't wait for Monday. Can't wait for Monday.
I will legitimately die. I'm gonna go buy a signed helmet that like actually fits so I can get out of that.
Listen, Jacob, you just need to keep wearing your helmet for about a week, and you'll get used to it.
That's
okay?
true. That is
You'll
what
get
they say.
used to it.
These buckets. Dude, I used to be so excited when I got one of these helmets back in
Yeah.
like second grade, and now it's the worst helmet I've ever seen in my life. Oh, what a time to be alive.
What a time.
They should put ice cream in that.
They
Ice
should
cream.
maybe nachos.
Yeah, or nachos. Yeah, that's a good bit. All right,
copy
that's it.
the
Like
rest
the
of it.
stream. Everybody like the stream. If you're listening in podcast form, thank you very much. God bless America. And we're going back to Radio World.
How's the old head feeling over there?
I have no idea what
Feeling
you're talking
all right?
about. I have no idea what you're
Feeling
talking about.
You just trying to squeeze that baby's
Radio
helmet on.
has no idea.
It was
Yeah,
like
they
a
don't get
vice
it.
grip.
The radio doesn't understand this whole segment we just did.
Yep, and that's a very weird question to ask if no one saw what the hell
That's
I was
right.
just asking about. So, never mind.
I tried to squeeze this melon in that helmet, and it didn't exactly work.
That's right.
So
It almost did.
It really wasn't close.
It got to your forehead.
It did. That being the bottom of the face mask.
Correct.
So if the Browns win on Sunday, when the Browns win on Sunday,
My head's
Jacob,
gonna pop like a pimple that's 4 weeks late.
Yesterday we figured out half of this wager, or whatever it is, that he will have to wear this Browns helmet the entire show on Monday.
We might
I am
have to amend it because
I am
it's
a friend.
too tight.
I wouldn't, maybe like you have to wear it for something. I
That's
don't know.
fair. That's
I
fair.
don't know what it is yet.
I'll wear it for like, I'll do some torture. I'll wear it for like the opening segment or something like that.
Fair enough.
There's no way I'd be able to wear it for a whole show.
And every time Elliot's giving me the nobody keep going.
That'll be a 40-minute segment.
40 minutes. Every
Might go
single time.
hospital shifts on the radio on Monday. It's just 12 on, 12 off. Just
Like I said,
1 hour
I
on, 1 hour commercials.
I won't be here if the Browns win that game.
You won't be. I thought it was just if
I thought it was
Deshaun
just
played
Deshaun
well
went off.
You're right. I won't be
So
here
you're
if Deshaun
right. You won't
Watson
be
goes
here
off.
on Monday.
If Deshaun Watson has a great game, I will not be here. So
Well, I think even I'm not willing to go as far as to say that'll be the case. So we shall see. We shall see. And I'm joining at halftime regardless.
Regardless.
Okay.
Regardless.
All right. Well, again, long way to go between now and then.
That's right.
Let's talk a little college football. So my guy Jake and I, we're big Buckeye fans, right?
That's right.
We disagree on a lot of stuff. We
That's
usually
right.
agree on a lot of Buckeye stuff. I think we're about to disagree on a couple things here. So Ohio State, Oregon, one of the best college football games. I mean, it lived up to the hype, no doubt about it. Not the result I wanted, not the result Jake wanted, not the result that a lot of Buckeye fans, or that all Buckeye fans wanted. Alabama, Georgia, one of the best games of the season, no doubt. Still think that's the number one game of the season thus far with all the drama and everything. I think Ohio State, Oregon, pretty damn close. I mean, it lived up to the hype. Big Ten was well represented in that, and honestly, probably a preview of the Big Ten championship when it's all said and done. That's most likely not the last time you're going to see Ohio State and Oregon go head-to-head. But coming into this season, Ohio State, obviously, look, it's Ohio State. More times than not, they are considered a national championship contender. But I'm getting to the point as a Buckeye fan where I'm just starting to question if it's fair to continue to prop them up as a national championship contender every single season, including this season, when they keep doing things that prove that they're not. Look, we know this team is super talented. The reason that they were propped up as high as they were is because of the fact in an offseason you retain a lot of your, if not your entire defense, you go and you get the likes of a Caleb Downs and you add to the depth there and you add to that secondary. You add a lot of depth there. And then you, on the offensive side, you go get one of the top quarterbacks in the portal. You go get the best running back in the portal and Quinshon Judkins. Already a very good running game to begin with, and now you have a two-headed monster at the run game. We can go on and on about why this Ohio State team is loaded, whether it's the $20 million that everyone tries to discredit their success with or not. The bottom line is if you're not spending money, you're probably not going to be in national championship contention very often anyways. But there's a reason that for me, despite the fact that Ohio State has spent a lot of money, despite the fact that Ohio State probably has the most talented roster in college football, super talented team, super talented roster, but are they a good team? I think they're good. I don't think they're a national championship good, though, and here's why. I've seen enough. I see Everett in the chat, and I see others that are like, oh, my gosh, one game and you're overreacting. One game and you're jumping off ship. I'm not overreacting. I'm not jumping off ship. I don't know if I believe that this team is a national championship contender. And the reason is, when the hell's the last time they beat an actual contender? You can't just prop them up as a national championship contender just because they play a lot of teams that are in national championship contention, but then ignore the result of it. Well, they played Oregon tough, so they're a national championship contender. Well, they lost. Results matter. I don't really care about the eye test because the eye test says, yes, Ohio State has the talent to compete with anyone in the country. But what about the coach? And keep in mind, this is one of those topics where I'm not necessarily calling for Ryan Day's job, but I am being very critical because I think he is a weak link that could get in the way or will get in the way of them winning a national championship. We talked last week about the Buckeyes and Ryan Day's biggest losses over the years. And you can have a list of all his losses, and then I'm going to ask you to have a list of all his biggest wins. And what are they? He didn't have any. Oh, Notre Dame back-to-back years. That Notre Dame program combined for 7 losses in that 2-year period, including a 4-loss Notre Dame team in 22 that lost to Marshall. That was one of Ohio State's biggest wins. Pick your standards at Buckeye fans. Like that's not a big win. That's an expected win. You should beat a Notre Dame team that lost 4 times. You had C.J. Stroud. You had Marvin Harrison Jr. You had weapons galore. And we beat Notre Dame. That's a 4-loss team that lost to Marshall. You beat Notre Dame last year on the road. Very tough environment, no doubt. Impressive win. Tough environment to go on the road, no doubt. That's a 3-loss Notre Dame team, though. And you're supposed to be a national championship contender. I don't get all hyped about beating 3-loss teams. I get hyped about beating national championship contending teams, and Notre Dame is not a national championship contending team. So, good win. Not an elite win, not a great win. All right, Michigan, national championship contender. Big Ten championship contender. Lost to them 3 straight times. The last time you played Oregon, playoff contender. You lost to that team. Georgia in the semifinals, very similar to Oregon over the weekend. We're right there, play for play, score for score, stop for stop. If there was a stop in that game, bottom line is you came up short. You lost. When you played Alabama in the national championship game, that's great. You got to the national championship game, but you're supposed to be on the same level as a Georgia and Alabama. The last time you've played Georgia and Alabama, you've lost. You can't beat Georgia. You can't beat Alabama. You can't beat Michigan. You've lost for 3 straight times. And apparently you can't beat Oregon, which is kind of a problem because Michigan used to be the biggest threat in the Big Ten to Ohio State, but I think now Oregon is, and you've proven you can't beat them either with Ryan Day as head coach. All those teams that lost those big games over the years, all super talented. Talent's never been the issue. This team's super talented this year. Yeah, I know. Talent's never been the issue at Ohio State. I'm not worried about the talent. Of course, this team's talented enough to win it all, but are they good enough to win it all? We saw that when the moment got the biggest, that's when this team crumbled on Saturday, and it's unfortunate because they played a hell of a game. I loved what Will Howard did throughout the majority of that game. I loved what the run game was kind of stopped at times, especially by Quinshon Judkins, but I love the game that Trevion Henderson had. But there's a lot going on in Columbus. I'm hearing a lot of rumblings of there being not altercations, but there's coaches bumping heads right now that, weren't really happy about how things transpired throughout that game over the weekend. I do not think this Buckeye team is a national championship contender. I think they're good enough to compete with Oregon to win the Big Ten. I think they're going to make the playoff, no doubt. But I'm not putting one single dime on Ohio State to win a national championship because people want to say one game and you're out. This isn't one game. The last time Ohio State won any game of substance, Clemson of 2020. It's almost a half decade ago. And you want me to sit back and say, well, they beat Clemson 5 years ago. OH, come on. It's Ohio State. There are standards, championship standards. And Ohio State and Ryan Day is not living up to that. They're not even winning Big Ten championships. And you're mad at me because I'm questioning whether they're good enough to win a national championship. I like Ryan Day. I respect when people say, well, who else are you going to get? I don't know. I'm not an AD. That's not for me to figure out. But I do know based on the standards at Ohio State, losing to Michigan for 3 straight years, losing big games to Oregon every time, losing to Georgia in the playoffs, losing to Alabama in the title game, you're not beating anyone of substance. And Ohio State has higher standards than that. That's why I do not believe, regardless of how talented this team is, I don't think they're a national championship contender. And until I see Ryan Day consistently beat a contender, I don't know if I can get on board. Guys, they haven't beat a contender in 5 years. To win a national title, you got to beat a contender 3 straight weeks. And you want me to believe that Ryan Day could do that when he hasn't beat a contender in 5 years and he's going to beat 3 contenders in consecutive weeks? I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. I am a Buckeye fan, but I don't think this is a contender with Ryan Day leading the way, unfortunately, as of right now.
In their last 6 losses, Ohio State, who obviously a lot of people focus on the wide receiver talent, but also claims to be a D-line U with some great edge rushers. In their last 6 losses, or big-time losses, Ohio State has 4 combined sacks. That's a loss to Oregon over the weekend, Michigan 3 times, Georgia in the playoff, and then Oregon again in 2021. Ryan Day, 1-7 versus top 5 opponents. And Jim Knowles, in his 5 losses against top 5 opponents, has not forced one fourth-quarter punt. He's allowed 530 yards, 533 yards, 338 yards, and 496 yards. That's all to go along with 149 points in those 5 games. The Ohio State coaching staff as a whole has not been good. I don't think you can put it all on Ryan Day, but I also think he certainly does deserve a lot of the blame. I think it's a little bit crazy to say that they're not a national championship contender because I don't think the entire country is very good this year. I think the 12-team playoff is going to save us from what could have been a very ugly 4-team playoff because I don't necessarily think a lot of teams are very good. People are all out on Alabama because they lost to Vanderbilt. Well, they beat Georgia the week before. Does that mean Georgia's no good? Texas looks great so far this year. We haven't really seen them play that hard of a team unless you consider Michigan a really big test. We're going to see them play Georgia this week. We'll learn a lot about that program. Going into this game last week, people were out on Oregon. They thought they looked terrible the first 3 or 4 weeks. Ohio State goes in, loses by 1. Now everyone thinks Oregon is maybe the number 1 team in the country, and people are out on Ohio State. I think the entire country can compete for a national championship at this point. I think there's plenty of teams that can win it, and I think Ohio State isn't in the middle of that pack. They're towards the top of it. I think it comes down to quarterback play and head coaching, and Ohio State got outdueled at those 2 spots on Saturday. And I think a lot of that has to do with how Autzen Stadium's set up. It's incredibly loud. It's a very hard place to play, and it's the first time most of these players have played there. So it's a hard thing to do, and they went in and lost to a good team. I think that's going to happen a lot in college football. Before this season, I said that there's not going to be a single undefeated national championship in the 12-team era. I stand by that point. I don't think any team that goes undefeated through the gauntlets that are the Big Ten and the SEC with the new realignment is going to be able to go undefeated all the way to a national championship. That's 16 straight games beating competition. And it's not like the old 14 playoff with the old conferences where you can go through and not play a national championship contender until rivalry week. You're going to have to play good teams all season long, and we see that with Georgia in week 3, with Oregon in week 5. These games are earlier in the season and much more populated throughout the schedule. It's going to be harder to go undefeated. It's not going to happen. I'm more confident in this Ohio State team as a national championship contender after going to Oregon and playing a game like that. You have Quinshon Judkins, who runs for, I believe, 2 yards per carry, 2.5 yards per carry against Oregon. This is a guy we brought in to be a dominant running back. You have, Jeremiah Smith, and I say we can't argue about penalties, and I think that's absolutely right. Ohio State should have won that game long before an offensive pass interference. But Jeremiah Smith, a freshman who continues to put up insane numbers, 9 catches for 100 yards, and what would have been a catch at the end of the game on a beautiful route, in my opinion, to put them in field goal range, but it gets called back for offensive pass interference. 12-team playoff and the way the Big Ten's set up, Ohio State's going to get another shot at Oregon if they take care of business. I expect them to, and I expect them to take care of Oregon and Indianapolis. If they lose to Oregon again, we'll see what happens. But I'm still very, very high on this Ohio State team, and I think they could lose again, and I'll still be just as high on them.
Keep in mind real quick, it's not that I don't think – it's just based on I don't believe they could do it with Ryan Day because – everyone out there that thinks they can, what have you seen from Ryan Day-led teams?
So what coaches do you think can do it in college football?
I'm not the athletic director.
No, just all of college football. All of college football. What coaches do you think can do it?
I mean, Kirby Smart's one,
right,
but you're not getting him, obviously.
No, I'm not even saying for the Ohio State job.
Yep.
If Ryan Day can't win a national championship, what coaches can this season?
That's fair. That's fair.
Kirby Smart
it's reset the field with a lot of the legendary coaches leaving.
Because I think Dabo's out. You don't believe in him to win a national championship anymore. Not you. I don't think people believe in him to win a national championship anymore.
And he has multiple. I think he's the only active coach with multiple.
Mac Brown.
Oh, he has multiple?
No, he just won the one at Texas. You're right.
You're right.
But so if he can't, are you going to say Dan Lanning can, and it's just because he beat Ryan Day? Well, he lost to Washington last year in a winning in Pac-12 championship. So does he win big games? Then you say Kalen DeBoer can. Well, he lost to Vanderbilt. Can he win big games? I think Ryan Day has a chance to take a hold of his legacy right now with this system resetting and a lot of coaches leaving. And he had a chance to do it against Oregon, and he didn't take advantage. I think the season's still wide open, and if he can go all the way and win a championship, he's just fine. But if other coaches start to stack championships in this new Saban-less era, that's when I'm going to have a problem.
Fair enough. And here's the deal, too. Urban Meyer got blown out and lost at Purdue. Urban Meyer got shut out in a semifinal against Clemson 31-0. Urban Meyer lost to Iowa. Urban Meyer had bad losses. All right, because I know people keep bringing that up to me too. That tough losses happen. And I talked about this. Keith Byers played at Ohio State, College Football Hall of Famer. He brought this up on our show over the weekend. Urban Meyer had tough losses, but he had the hardware and the history to show that, hey, yeah, and by the way, there's no perfect coach out there. Like Nick Saban, he didn't lose those types of games, don't get me wrong, but Nick Saban had the hardware that if he did stub his toe along the way, he was going to be given the benefit of the doubt. Urban Meyer got the benefit of the doubt because he had rings, he had national championships, and his list of big wins completely outweighed the list of bad losses. You're going to have bad losses. But Ryan Day's resume, it's all bad losses. Now, you could bring up the Rose Bowl a couple years ago, but to me, the Rose Bowl a couple years ago was just a complete reminder that, oh, yeah, we're in the Rose Bowl because we couldn't win the games that mattered. The Rose Bowl mattered, I guess. It was a consolation prize, but if you lived up to expectations, you're not playing in that Rose Bowl game. You beat Oregon, ironically enough, lost to Oregon that season. Can this team win a national championship? If they win it, and we want to replay this clip, and Kinnersey, you don't know anything, fine. But it's October 15th. I don't even know what day it is. It's October 15th. And up until October 15th of 2024, Ryan Day has yet to prove that he can win against a contender. And until I see that, I'm just going to doubt. Are there other coaches that can come in and do a better job? I can't say that, to Jacob's credit with that question. But based on what I've seen, DeBoer, who has a tough loss against Vandy, DeBoer's won playoff games. DeBoer is coached in a national title game
same amount of playoff games
like
as Ryan
Day. But again, we're talking about the recency thing too. Recency stuff, the recency bias stuff matters. Hell, that's what got DeBoer the job to begin with.
Yeah,
as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I'm not out on the Buckeyes and saying they have no chance. For me though, I'm not putting a dime on them to win a national championship from that perspective. And we'll see what ends up happening when it's all said and done. But man, oh man, like Penn State coming up in a few weeks, it's another big opportunity against a top team. Will I change my tune then? I'll say it's a good win. But again, the faces of the Big Ten in recent years, it's supposed to be Ohio State, Michigan, and now maybe Oregon's in that mix too. I'm not a big believer in Penn State to begin with, but don't lose to Penn State.
But will you count Penn State as a big win if they end 10-2?
I wouldn't put it against a contender. It's a big win. Do you consider Penn State a contender to win a title?
Yeah, and I consider Notre Dame's last year a big win as well.
It's a 3-loss team.
I know, but I still think going to a team like that and getting a win is a massive win in a game that came down to the wire. I count that as a big win as well. It's only 2 for Ryan Day, so it's not like it changes the argument at all.
Yeah.
But it's 1 versus 2.
We would have crushed him for the loss, to be fair.
Right, exactly.
So it's not, but like it's just kind of one of those. There's some of those things. You're Ohio State. You're expected to win those.
You're right.
You're
not wrong.
We do this in other sports all the time too. If you have a loaded roster, Ryan Day consistently has done less with more. To Harbaugh's credit, now last year's roster was loaded. But Harbaugh started doing a lot more with less than what Ryan Day has had in those final years at Michigan outside of last year. Last year's roster was stacked. And that's what a lot of people look at other coaches at and say, the coaches who are doing less with more. And that's how you win those Coach of the Years.
Yeah.
That's how you get those bigger jobs. Look at DeBoer at Washington. Man, if he could do that at Washington, what could he do with the resources at Alabama, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's how that stuff works. But nonetheless, Ohio State, a bye week. How sucky is that? You have that tough loss, and you got to go eat it in a bye week.
I'm happy about it. I think it's going to be a good thing for this team. I'm happy with the way the schedule lined up. I think they're going to bounce back off this bye week and just dominate Nebraska, but we'll see.
Colin Will says, when Ohio State wins the Natty, I can't wait for Ryan Day to scream into the camera, where is Justin Kinner at right now? That won't happen. Nobody knows who I am.
And just to prove your point a little bit more about Coach of the Years, you want to guess how many Coach of the Year, AP Coach of the Years Nick Saban won in his career? 7 national championships.
How many years did he coach?
He was at between LSU and Alabama. It was 2007 to 2023 at Alabama, and then 4 years at LSU with a championship there. And
I'm gonna say, I feel like you wouldn't be asking if it was a lot, so I'm gonna say 5.
5 is your low guess. Casey, how about you?
Is a low guess?
5. He said he wants to guess low because he thinks I'm asking because it's a low number, so he's guessing 5.
I'm gonna say 3.
3. Do you know or do you want to guess?
Oh, you said 3?
Yeah.
I'm going to say just 1.
2. Nick Saban won
Crazy.
2 AP Coach
That's
of the
crazy.
Year. Only 1 at Alabama, and it wasn't in a national championship year. He won it in 2008, his second year at the school.
That's insane.
Urban Meyer Coach of the Year, I think he won 1 in the Big Ten, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
And it's because a lot of those coaches, when you're dominant, well, you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's the standard at Alabama.
We talk about it with LeBron
State.
MVPs a lot.
Yeah.
If it actually went to the most valuable player in the league, he'd have 15 of them.
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
That's why you get Big Ten Coach of the Year. It's probably going to be Indiana's coach.
Absolutely.
It's probably going to be. It's not Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning's done a fantastic job, and that schedule for them, by the way. If they're not undefeated heading into the Big Ten title game, that'll be kind of wild. I could see them stubbing their toe against Michigan because why not?
Oh,
right?
how about a week? How about this week?
Who do they got this week?
Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon. Take your number 2 rating into West Lafayette and play Purdue, baby.
Ooh, is this their Vandy game?
Most wins against number 2 in the history of college football, the Purdue Boilermakers. Welcome to the Big Ten, baby.
It's their Vanderbilt game. There you go. Nonetheless. All right. This is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, ESPN 1410 Wing AM, which ironically enough is Dayton's radio home for Ohio State football. So there you go.
How about that?
Now I have cheerleader radio. I don't believe in that. I can't do it. But it is what it is. We'll be right back. So over the weekend, on Sunday, me and a bunch of friends, we're all having some drinks and we're watching the NFL games.
Shocker.
And, we're sitting around having a fire, having a great time, right? Actually, we didn't even know football was on. We were just drinking and the football game broke out.
No TVs.
But then, I have a lot of really good friends who are all Reds fans. And one of my best friends is a Guardians fan. So, great. He's having a good time.
You hate him.
But we're fine. Like, I started noticing, though. So, and he's talking about the Guardians. He can't wait for it. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's fine. You're allowed. That's your team. But my coward traitor other Reds fan friends, they're like, oh yeah, I can't wait for the Guards game either. They're pulling for the Guardians. I tell you, with the Reds out, the Guardians, that's my team. That's my team. Mike, you're a loser. You're a loser. I can't. I mean, when the Browns were in the playoffs last year and the Bengals weren't, and I know what people are about to say. It's a division thing. It's different. When was the last time the Bengals or Browns competed for a division title against one another? Like, the Browns have nothing to do with the Bengals, and the Bengals have nothing to do with the Browns. I don't care about the division stuff. Like to me, it's just one of those things. Even if the Bengals didn't and the Browns didn't play in the same division, those fan bases hate one another. I can't stand the Reds fans who are pulling this stunt going for the Guardians right now. You have Terry Francona. The last thing you want is for the Guardians to go win a World Series or beat the Yankees to get to the World Series or even win the World Series, so that they can look at you and say, see, we don't need Terry Francona. Enjoy your bum manager who couldn't, it took, we get rid of Terry Francona and look, we go win a World Series. And you think you're going to win it because you have Francona? We didn't need him to win it. Like, there's so many things that can come from the Guardians winning a World Series that's not good for Reds fans. And I don't get how Reds fans are just automatically taking off the Reds cap and putting on the Guards cap. It's making me sick. It's pissing me off. Stop going for the Guardians. Like, what are we doing? Like, why do we make up different rules? Well, in baseball, it's a little different. No, it's not. It's not different at all. Screw Cleveland. Screw not the Browns. Not the Browns. Go Browns. But screw the Cleveland Guardians. If you're a real Reds fan and you're super jacked about the Reds' chances moving forward, you get Terry Francona, you're having fun. Don't cheat on the Reds with the Cleveland Guardians. You don't cheat with an ugly chick, all right? You don't cheat with the Cleveland Guardians are hideous. You don't cheat ugly. No, absolutely not. Do not go for the Cleveland Guardians. I don't get Reds fans.
Didn't they win the Ohio Cup?
They did. The Guardians
didn't they
did.
also decide to troll us afterwards too?
No,
Yes.
that was Photoshops.
Well,
But it was a troll. Yeah.
it was still a troll.
Social
We did
media
fall
is
for
a
it.
troll. No, you're right. That's true.
We did fall for it.
That's
but,
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I am rooting for the Guardians. It is not because they are the Guardians. It is because when the Reds are out, I root for the team with the lowest remaining payroll, and that happens to be the Guardians this year. So I'm just rooting for them, and that is legitimately not a bid. That's what I always do.
I also don't
I just root for the
root,
team with the lowest payroll.
I also don't root for the New York Yankees.
Can't do it.
Just can't. I
The
won't
Yankees.
do it.
I won't even say who the Yankees could be playing, and I'd root against the Yankees. But I think you can fill in the blank because it's any group.
I hate the Dodgers and the Yankees. I hate them, and I don't want them to win ever. So
Ever.
I don't care who it is. This rivalry between Cleveland and the Reds, the Guardians and the Reds. I don't think that's a rivalry. The Ohio Cup's been a joke for a long, long time. You play 4 games, 2 games a pop, and they're 4 months in between. It's like FC Cincinnati. It's a joke, and I don't mean to be disrespectful.
Crazy.
I don't mean to be disrespectful. I don't mean to be
That's insane.
I don't mean to be disrespectful.
Yes, you do.
Respectfully.
I just don't care about that rivalry. If they want to do the Cincinnati's and Kentucky joke, if they think that's a real funny shot,
Do you think if we print Cleveland's and Michigan shirts, people would buy them?
yeah, I think they would.
Same font?
Yeah, same exact thing. I just like I'm gonna cheer against the New York Yankees. That's what's going on here. I don't, it's not about the Guardians. It's about the New York Yankees being blah. Now, my dad, we were watching the game last night. We did bring up something that would be interesting. I think it would be fun to have a World Series, a World Subway Series would be really cool. So I think if we could do that, then I would watch it a lot, or I would watch the World Series for sure. But if it's Yankees Dodgers, I ain't watching that. I don't.
And ironically, it would get the best ratings. Of
Oh,
all time.
100% it would. And it would be great baseball.
Yeah.
It would be the two best teams on paper, no doubt about it. I don't want to see Goliath versus Goliath. You want to see David win. That's what sports is about. Nobody would watch sports if it was just Goliath taking on other Goliaths.
That's not true at all.
And it is true. It is true.
No, it's not. Like people always say that with March Madness, it's all about the Cinderella.
It
team.
is all about. Nobody would
No.
watch March
Opening
Madness
week,
if those upsets
that's the
didn't
case
happen.
for opening weekend, but no one gave two rips about Loyola in the Final Four. And no one gave two rips about what was the team Michigan's coach now. Who did he coach a few years ago? Was it Florida Atlantic? Yeah, Florida Atlantic goes to the Final Four. No one watched that. They were a cute little story to start. Oakland, Golden Grizzlies, great story. Shout out Jack Oakey. Oakland, great story. Win a couple weeks, you knock out Kentucky. But after that, I don't want Oakland against a power.
I think
done
you're
with
probably
Oakland
right
after
for
the first
casual
weekend.
basketball fans, but I think people that are actually enjoy college basketball certainly do like those stories better than just if you pencil in the one seeds to the Final Four every year.
I think the
question.
I think the casuals like it. I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
people
that's fair.
watch.
I would
People
agree with
watch
you.
March Madness for the Cinderella run. There is no March Madness.
They watch
if
it for the
St. Pete-
upsets in the
if
first
St.
weekend.
Huh?
Ratings disagree with that. Ratings disagree. Ratings don't show that people tune in for the Cinderella run all the way to the Final Four.
Yeah, but I also think the large part of March Madness is those first
I think a lot of
2
people
weeks.
don't watch after the first week.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter who it is. I think it's the non-casuals.
That Thursday,
will
Wednesday,
tune in
Thursday, Friday, or
always.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or whatever it is, those first 3 days are the best.
That's
So,
the best 3 days in
The
sports.
12-team
Best 4 days
playoff,
in
we hope
sports.
the national title game is BYU against Georgia
Well, that's
or
what
Alabama.
Jacob's argument is. But I'd argue that basketball and football are so drastically different that it's hard to compare. But yes, people are going to cheer in the first round of that college football playoff for upsets. 1,000,000%.
The away team going to
1,000,000%.
Boise State at Alabama, the whole country's gonna be rooting for Boise
And in
State.
fact, it would justify the 12-team playoff if one of those things happened. Because if it is chalk, if college football is just going to be chalk, which it very well might, it could be chalk because it is usually Goliath versus Goliath when it comes to college football. That's how it's been with BCS. It's how it was with the 4-team playoff. It's going to change it up now with the 12-team, which is what people want
TCU
to
and
see.
Washington were horrible for those national championship
But yeah, it
ratings.
doesn't matter. People want to see upsets. I understand what you're saying.
But the ratings say otherwise. No one tuned in to watch TCU
I think people were
or
happy with the
Washington.
upsets, and then they're like, all right, I'm not watching the national championship game.
That's my point.
But you are happy about the upsets.
in
Do you
the
think-
early
do you
rounds
think-
of March.
do you
We're
think
having
the-
a weird argument.
Do you think
now,
the
my bad.
national championship playing at 9:35 on a Monday night
Monday.
has anything to do with it?
If
Because
Ohio-
that has something to do with it for me.
If-
Who the hell cares? Play the game at 7:00 on a Sunday or a Saturday.
Or the
like
day
normal
that you
people.
play the rest of your games all season long. Just put it on a Saturday night.
You put Ohio State, Georgia, or Ohio State, Alabama in the national title game at midnight, it's going to get a big rating. It's going to get a big pop.
I don't think so.
I think so.
No,
Jake does
It
not want
gets
to
a
agree
bit-
with me.
it'll
But he's
get-
like,
it'll
yeah.
get-
I don't like ratings arguments for sports because I think sports are much bigger than ratings. But I understand that is what it comes.
You don't talk about March Madness if teams don't get upset. That's a fact, and nobody watches it. People will watch it, but it doesn't have the reputation that it has.
No one would consider it the best playoff,
Correct.
the best postseason, if it wasn't for the upsets.
People want David versus Goliath. They want David beating
I want it the
Goliath.
first weekend. After that, I want my Kentucky's running into Louisville. I want Duke, Kentucky. I want Kansas. I want those teams.
So you
I
like the
don't-
Final Four, whatever it was a couple of years ago? That was what, like UConn, Kansas, like all the blue bloods.
Yep. For me, yeah.
That's fair. I hated that.
I want a
I
blue
much
blood
prefer like
Final
the
Four.
FIU, San Diego State stuff.
I want a fun weekend. I want a fun Sweet 16. But around the Elite Eight, I'm no longer pulling for the underdogs. Starting at the Elite Eight, I stopped pulling for the underdogs.
That's weird. Why?
I feel like it is too.
Why would you stop? Like when St. Peter's kept winning, I was cheering for St. Peter's.
Because to run it with everything on the line, you want Duke and Presbyterian, or do you want
Yes.
Duke to run into Kansas?
Yeah, and then I want Duke to lose that.
Right.
And then I want
will still,
Presbyterian to
I'll
win.
still root. Yeah.
And until it happens, I'm going to keep cheering for it.
Like UMBC, that was awesome.
I think
Loyola.
cheering for the best.
Loyola make it to the Final Four was electric. Sister Jean.
Yeah, it was. It was one of the best runs we've ever had.
No,
And
she was selfish, by the way. She took all the.
What take
she
are we
was
doing
selfish.
here?
No.
What are we doing on this show?
Anti-Sister Jean.
What-
now?
I
What
am
is it?
anti-Sister
Okay, no,
Jean. I love
No,
Sister
let him,
Jean.
no, let him
Hold on,
do
time out.
anti-Sister
No,
Jean.
he's burying the show here. What is this?
No,
Sister
let him
Jean
do
was selfish.
anti-Sister
She's
Jean.
115 years old.
Anti-Sister Jean is preposterous.
It's not. Imagine those poor kids who worked their asses off all season to get to the Final Four just so that every clip could be about her.
You think those kids don't love
No.
Sister Jean?
If I was a fan of Loyola, I'd have been pissed. I'd be like, Sister Jean, we love you. Okay? You know, I do all that. I do whatever I needed. Love you. But if you can just get out of the
This
way.
is crazy.
Just move. If you just get out of the way a little so that the team that worked their behinds to get to that point can actually get the attention and credit for being there. I'm just saying.
That is crazy.
What is it this? What do you
I don't know.
How
You certainly would know. Bashing
my
Sister
God.
Jean. My God.
Great person. I'm not bashing the person. I just thought it was too much attention on her and not on the team that got there. But again, the team, because Loyola was not interesting enough to garner attention in their run to the Final Four.
I paid attention to him.
So yeah.
I think
How did
most
you pay
people
attention
did.
to them? No one ever talked about them. It was all about Sister Jean.
What a take.
It's
This is crazy.
This is listen. I don't.
This is crazy.
I just don't get it. I don't get your rationale. I don't want to cheer for the best of the best to win every single
Right.
time. That defeats the whole purpose of sports. You would not watch sports if that was sports.
I ironically
if the favorite won every single time.
I
didn't
ironically
say what
root
the
for
favorite
two
would
best
win
of the
every
best
time.
That you are
teams.
saying
Still
that.
No,
root
I
for
didn't.
the
If
You
you
are.
open your ears, see these
My
things
ears
the
are
same.
open. My ears are open.
'cause
You're
if
saying
if they weren't, you would have heard me say, I love the upsets the opening weekend. By the time I get to the Elite Eight, I'm done with the upsets
Right.
once we get to the Elite Eight.
That's crazy.
you're cheering against.
You're cheering for the
underdogs. You're
big
cheering for
time
the Goliaths.
favorites.
Absolutely. The hell with them. We don't. The same. These are the same people that from. By the way, college basketball does tip off in a couple weeks. Same people. You won't pay any attention to Northern Kentucky, but my God, they upset a team in March, and oh my God, we got to support the little guy. How you would
Correct.
do more
That's
for
right.
that program? You would do more for that program. You would do more for the right states and the Northern Kentuckys of the world if you gave a damn about them from November through February instead of one day in March.
Oh, I don't.
I'm just saying.
I don't care about their program. I care about them giving me
Oh,
one
well,
fun
oh,
game in
you
March.
know, yes, come on.
Jacob.
And I love
Give
Northern
me one
Kentucky
fun
and Wright
game in
State.
March.
March Madness is fun because
Yeah.
those upsets
You
happen.
got-
Those storylines.
I give a damn about Florida Gulf Coast. No, Dunk City.
They're awesome.
Stephen
You
F.
think they
Austin?
only dunked in March? You don't think they were dunking in November?
Yeah,
How come
I
you
watched
not
them in
shooting
March, and it was
November?
fun. I haven't thought about Stephen F. Austin in a decade. They want me some money.
See, they're
Yeah,
not
they
really
did.
fans.
Yeah, they did.
They're not really fans of the teams. They're
No.
a fan of the
Farley
product.
Dickinson.
The
You're a
big,
fan of the
big
upset.
college.
Yeah.
You're a big fan of big NCAA.
The name and logo do not matter a lick to me. If you tell me a 1 is playing an 8, I'm going to root for the 8.
Every single time.
And that's going to apply for college football as well, unless it's Alabama or Ohio State.
To be fair,
If
Correct.
you're an
Unless
8,
it's your school.
if
Unless
you're
it's
an
my
8,
school.
you're not a Cinderella team if you're an 8.
A number 8 team making the Final Four would absolutely
Who are
be a
your number
Cinderella.
8s usually? We're talking about
UConn
teams-
made the Final
No.
Four as an 8. It's the
well,
lowest
what's
seed
your
to ever make it.
To me, a Cinderella team is not just an underdog. It's the mid-majors. It's the teams that have no business knocking off. Like, oh, if you're a 6-point dog and you win, if you're a 6-point dog in the round of 32, and then you're a 2-point dog in the Elite 8, and you get to the Final Four. What? That's not a Cinderella.
A number
run.
8 seed is the lowest seed to ever win a national championship. That is absolutely an underdog.
Who were the 8 seeds last year? Let's pull this up from last year.
Colton brought in a good point. You weren't cheering for NC State? That team was electric last year.
Why? Because they had a 500-pound dude in the post?
Yes. And their point guard was awesome.
Yes.
yeah.
That team is fun.
That's exactly why. Heroes are what make March Madness the best. The one-star player on those teams is what make March Madness the
Only
best.
thing NC State did was
right?
provide the argument about basketball players going to play football or football going to play basketball, which sport was easier to cross
and
over
gave
to.
you fun basketball to watch all the way to the Final Four with upsets that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
They're the lowest seed to ever make a Final Four.
Riveting.
It is riveting.
I don't know why
To-
you don't like college
To
basketball.
be
All right,
fair,
first of all, I love college
No, it
basketball.
sounds like you
I
hate it.
do.
No, you love college basketball blue bloods.
No,
You hate the underdogs.
You hate the underdogs.
I do not.
can I ask you guys a question?
You cheer for a mid-major.
I
You
would
hate them.
love nothing more.
You root for the underdog.
That's right.
But you hope that the game is actually good and competitive. If it's,
No, when
if
UMBC beat Virginia by 30, I was happy.
you were happy still,
100%
Yeah,
you
16
were.
versus one
It's the
first
fir-
time
It's
ever,
the
I was
first.
ecstatic.
even if it's like the Final Four, the championship, you still want the.
Well, regardless of underdog or favorite or whoever I'm rooting for, I would prefer marquee games be good games.
I want
Right,
upsets and I want upsets
I
and
don't
I want
care
buzzer
about-
beaters. The upsets don't have to be buzzer beaters.
I would prefer the
Yeah.
underdog win by 20 than the favorite hit a buzzer beater.
Right. Yeah. No.
If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'd prefer the under. If it's well, then we get into the argument of like if it's 4 versus 6, I would probably prefer the buzzer beater. But like if it's number 11 NC State, I'll take a 20-point win and 11 going to the Final Four. The 8 seeds last year were
Isn't
FA.
that stuff hard to find? I'm like,
Oh, no,
it's pissing me off. I felt
I
like
gotta
at 80
understand.
years. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm Sister Jean on a laptop over here. I can't find anything.
The 8-9 game in the East last year was FAU Northwestern, which went to overtime. I think both of those would have been underdogs. 8-9 in the West, Mississippi State, Michigan State. I think both of those would have been underdogs. Utah State, TCU, for sure, and then Nebraska A&M.
Well, hold on.
Again.
Mississippi State gets to the Final Four. That's a Cinderella underdog story
Massive,
that everyone.
yes.
People are losing their minds for Michigan was a 9. Michigan State's a 9 seed. Michigan State, they had no chance of getting here. Oh my gosh, they overcame the odds. A
Yes.
9 seed Michigan State Spartans out of the Big Ten.
Correct.
Overcoming the odds.
Yes. When Michigan State would have went and played, who would they play in the second round if they would have won? If Michigan State would have went and played, they did win. They went and played North Carolina. If they would have beaten North Carolina and Alabama on the way to the Final Four, that would have been a massive
Michigan State
underdog.
beating North Carolina is not like a David versus Goliath story, though.
Well, you're looking at brand names and not the 2024 teams.
It's not just brand names, it's Power 4 basketball. Like,
North Carolina would have been a 10-point favorite.
I mean,
What were they a favorite in that game? That game was played.
they won 85-69 in that 1 versus 9 matchup.
Yeah.
North Carolina goes on to Alabama, so Alabama just a huge upset over number 1 North Carolina.
That's a 4 seed. That's a little bit of a reach.
Once a team makes it to like the Elite 8, Final Four, like I feel like they deserve to be there, right? Like that's at that point the argument in my mind goes out the window of having you're losing out on good games because underdog story is happening. They deserve to be there, right?
agree.
Like they won those games. They beat the guys that they needed to beat to get there.
You
I don't know.
were rooting for Duke against NC State in the Elite 8 last year.
Yeah. Like NC State deserved to be there.
Oh, yeah. I want Duke in the Final Four. I want my brands in the Final Four.
Crazy take.
There's nothing more that I hate than big brands in sports across the board, except for the 2 that I root for.
Which are
Which are the 2 biggest brands.
Which happen to be the 2 biggest brands.
Yeah. No, other than the 2 I root for, I hate the biggest brands at all.
He's a walking national championship ad.
That's
I mean,
right.
It's just like...
That's right. I got the ring to prove it.
Oh, look, we're out of time. That does it for us
Man.
today on radio.
Is that worse than the draft?
No,
rooting,
it's
rooting
not.
for the Blue Bloods?
Oh, how is Michigan
close.
State going to the Final Four? That's an underdog story?
Yes! It'd be the lowest seed to ever win a national championship.
I don't care about the seed. It's Michigan State.
I don't care about the name. I care about the seed.
When Jim
It's Tom Izzo.
This is only won one championship.
When Boeheim took Syracuse, who played in the final played in the first 4, took him to Sweet 16, took him to the Final 4.
Wasn't an upset. It's Jim Boeheim in Syracuse.
I mean,
That's what they say.
I don't know who they are. Right. They implies multiple, though.
Yeah, I guess it's just him. And the NFL draft, worst teams.
I could see
Oh
why
my
people.
gosh, it's all coming together. He just hates the little guy.
He hates the little guy.
He only likes
cheers for the
blue
top.
blood, big spender, top dogs.
So you never want to. Just so we're
That's
clear.
why he's a Browns
Correct.
and Reds fan.
You never want to see Dayton ever win a championship.
Oh, I can't stand Dayton.
Yeah, that was a bad example. We know he hates Dayton.
You never want to see Wichita or Wright State ever win a championship.
I love Wright State, and I will be a hypocrite when it comes to that.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Wright State in the Final Four, everyone will be watching. It'd be great.
Okay. All right. That's it. That's the show. That's it. We're out of time.
Till tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
The Cowboys, the Yankees, Sister Jean, March Madness.
Are we still on?
We're still doing a football. We're still doing a
See
show.
how easy it is? See how easy it is?
No,
to forget
I
that
don't even think the
sometimes?
camera was on me, so I'm fine. Yeah, no, I didn't forget anything.
We've talked about, I think, every single topic in sports today.
Was
Yeah, we touched
that
on everything.
the most Big J show we've ever done?
Yeah, it was, I think.
I think it was
What's
too.
Big J?
Big J journalism, like the suit and tie, like sitting here for 2 hours on Tuesday, October the 15th, and doing 15 minutes on the Cowboys touching on Bronny and LeBron, Kinner only rooting for Duke and the Yankees.
15 on Ohio State football.
15 on Ohio State football. They're not national championship contenders, even though they're voted 3 and lost to number 2 by 1 point on the road. And then we hate Kinner hates Sister Jean.
And cheering for the Yankees over the Guardians.
That's right.
Wow. Cheering for the $300 million
we
roster.
killed it today.
We did.
Not only that, Kirby, midway through the show.
This was great. He was just too late for me to bring it up.
He changed everything about our show, the title, the thumbnail, and it put breaking news: Devante Adams traded from the Las Vegas Raiders to New York Jets. And the first thing that we talk about is the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh
it's
my!
Just the wildest thing.
Well,
that is hilarious.
Imagine you.
I literally didn't know that happened.
Imagine you click on that video.
Yeah, the YouTube algorithm. You're like, oh. What?
Devante
I didn't
Adams.
hear about this, and then there's some
Sister
asshole.
Jean
There's
is
some
the
asshole
most
yelling about
selfish
Sister
100-year-old
Jean.
woman.
I mean, she could have said thank you, but how about we turn the camera to the guys that I'm just saying.
I assume, and obviously I don't know, the Loyola Chicago athletes. I assume those athletes adore Sister Jean, and we're very happy.
They also probably don't have the balls to sit there and say, "Yeah, she's hogging the spotlight."
Look, when I went to a Catholic high school, when we won stuff, the first person we paraded out there was our chaplain. Like, that was a big deal for the team. So I think
not a good week for the Catholic Church this week.
Not a good week for my Catholic school.
Kamala Harris.
That's right. Let's get into that.
Come on.
So at the end of the day, the Harris Walls ticket at the end of the day, just honest. No, I'm not doing it.
By the way, this is okay. So Trump spoke last night, but he's just stood up on stage and didn't talk for 30 minutes and just played music and just kept pointing at people and doing the thumbs up thing.
Oh.
So the Lakers.
Nothing I want more in life to be pointed at and thumbs up.
How did he say Arizonians?
Not like that.
Did you see it? Did you see that clip? I saw that.
Elliot, I watch sports. Gosh,
Fair.
you're always trying to. No,
only if number one's playing number 2.
That's right. No, because
only if number one's playing number 2. You're not watching any little guy.
I mean,
No.
Might be David versus Goliath on November 5th. I mean, I don't really know.
Why cheer for App State? Why
5th.
cheer for App State to beat Michigan when you can cheer for Michigan because they're the bigger brand?
It's true.
I hear
Boise
that
State Statue of Liberty in the national championship. Kinner was pissed.
He was so mad.
No, I don't know. It is what it is. Look, for March Madness, I hear a lot of people. I don't even think that's that crazy of a take. I hear so many people say that they love the upsets early. Give me chocolate. I don't think that might be a difference of opinion. I just don't think that's up there with my horrible draft take that I've apparently.
Oh, so you admit the draft take's horrible?
I mean, that one I at least could see people's like this one I could just see a difference of opinion. But to say that this take is just garbage is just insane.
I think if you left it to exclusively March Madness, it wouldn't be the worst take ever. But the fact that you're rooting for the Yankees over the Guardians just strictly because of payroll.
I still think that
it's because it's Cleveland.
I think you're confusing it with the branding and that you just want a good game to watch. You don't want to see the underdogs get blown out in the final fours.
And that's where I think that's where I think a lot of what he's saying is coming from. Yeah. But if it's a good game, then why would you not cheer for DJ Burns?
Yeah, would you prefer 2 and 4 play in the Final Four and it's a 20-point blowout for 2, or 1 and 15 play in the Final Four and 15 hits a buzzer beater?
I need the chat to understand something. I know y'all don't like me. I get it. Take me out of the equation, okay?
They love you.
NC State is not a Cinderella story. It's NC State. They're an ACC team. They have ACC resources.
Dude, you can't possibly.
That's an insane argument.
You can't possibly.
No, I don't.
They got there on a
How do you remove the seed?
Any Power 4 team? Or high major team, or high major team in college basketball.
That is crazy.
Like, I don't look at that as a Cinderella one. The Bearcats, by the way, if the Bearcats make a run, I'm not looking at them as a Cinderella team.
If they're below a 5 seed, I think they are. I think any team below a 5 seed.
Dude, they weren't in the tournament until the conference. They had to win their conference tournament. It took a buzzer beater against Virginia, and then you had to win the next one. And then you sneak in,
won 11 games in a row,
and then you get to the Final Four. That's the definition of the Cinderella story. That's what college. That's why college basketball is the best.
How do you remove the seed and not? How do you remove the seed?
I think seeding, and every year, by the way, I promise you on Selection Sunday, you're going to hear this like we do every year for Selection Sunday. Every Selection Sunday, it's always, I think seeding means as little this year as it has in any other season. That's how tight and close all these teams are.
Right.
That's why I don't pay attention to seeding. I don't think seeding is that big a deal. I think it's a big deal for the mid-majors. I think there's a lot of mid-majors that get seeded a little too high. I know the year that Dayton and Wichita State played, it was the 8 versus 9 or whatever it was, where Wichita State should have been seeded higher, but they were at the 9. That team was really good. They had Baby Davis. They had all those guys. Baby,
Let me ask you, when Georgetown swept the Big East and got to the tournament, saved. That's not a Cinderella story.
Yeah, Alex Wallace brings up a good point. Would you consider UC a Cinderella story if they were below an 8th seed?
Yes.
If UC was not in the tournament come
Swept
March,
the Big 12 tournament
swept
to get in.
1,000,000%.
No question.
1,000,000%. That's a Cinderella story.
If Kentucky wasn't in the tournament, swept the SEC, made it as an 11, and made the Final Four, that's a Cinderella story.
Yeah,
I'm
Kentucky,
just
always the little guy.
because he brought up a good point. Would fans care, or would fans be outraged being called a Cinderella story if they were like the 9th
Yes,
seed?
but I also don't care, right? Like,
I don't-
UC
yeah,
fans
it's
would be like, yeah, we're not Cinderella. We belong here.
To be
but-
clear,
be
I'm
a
on your
Cinderella.
guys'
Yeah.
side on
It would,
this. I just,
no, I get your point.
I understand the question.
It's your Cinderella. It's a Cinderella story. If you weren't supposed to be there and somehow you got there, based on a magical little run, that's Cinderella.
And if conferences are all that matter, then
Bippity
like
boppity boo.
the one if they play the 2020 tournament and Dayton wins it as the number 1 overall seed, is that not a Cinderella? That is a Cinderella story?
Repeat that.
If conferences are all that matter and not seeding, if Dayton wins the tournament as the favorite number 1 seed, if they play that 2020 tournament, is that a Cinderella story?
To me, seeding doesn't matter. So yeah, that would have been. I thought Dayton, when they were talking about putting them as a 1, I'm like, holy crap, they're not 1 seed. They weren't even the best team in Ohio that year. Caleb Weston in Ohio State would have beat that Dayton team easily. I have no clue why that 2020 UD team got propped up so high. They only played 2 top 25 teams that year and lost both of them. They lost both of them. Obi Toppin, fantastic, very, very good player. You get me on a whole other rant. That doesn't. This is it noon yet? I'm getting myself in a lot of trouble today. But yeah,
Kinner, I feel like, and I don't want you to take any disrespect.
I almost
this is like no
guarantee you
offense.
he's going
No
to.
offense, but it's
No,
going to be
I
highly
don't think you
offensive.
do. I just feel like you have so many bad takes, and it's just it's too much. You got to let some of those out.
It is a lot.
And you got to start making some good ones.
I don't
It's a
think
lot.
that saying Michigan State anytime that they go on a run is there's no way, there's no scenario.
It's
to
not
me,
anytime
unless,
they go on a
unless
run.
Michigan State all of a sudden gets mid-major resources, loses Tom Izzo, is no longer a Big Ten program. I don't know how we could sit there and say that anything that they do in March Madness is a Cinderella run.
Saying no Power 4 school can be a Cinderella run is crazier than the draft.
You may think that. I don't think that's a popular thing, though. I don't think many people would agree with you.
Any person you ask in the entire world would consider NC State a Cinderella last year. Any single person. Anyone.
So, like, Gonzaga winning a championship is not, like, they
Well,
were.
that would be a Cinderella in his mind.
But they
That's
were.
a Cinderella in his
That
mind.
is a Cinderella. The number 1 overall Gonzaga that's always top 5, that is a Cinderella.
Gonzaga gets 4 and 5 stars. It's not a Cinderella.
But they're in the WCC.
Yeah, they're not.
No,
in
they
a-
have 4
They
and
have
5
mid-major
stars. That's my
resources.
point about
That's
Michigan
name
State.
brand.
You're bringing 4 and 5 star players into a basketball game against another team with 4 and 5 star players. You're playing on equal playing field here. Like, that's why Michigan State's not a Cinderella team. And keep in mind, when you play.
Just because you were a 5-star in high school and you're playing another 5-star, you're the same level of player?
So the stars don't matter all of a sudden?
Never.
It matters. That stuff matters.
Not once you get to college.
It absolutely
The better
matters.
player
There's a direct
matters.
correlation of the teams with the most 4 and 5 stars coming out and the best teams at the end of the
Absolutely.
season.
But
So then don't say it doesn't matter.
To act like every 5-star out of high school is at the same level when they get to college is crazy. Some 5-stars are much better than
Also,
others.
there's some teams that also get seeded that low because, hey, you battle injuries in November, December, and then you get them back in mid-January, and
Correct.
then you get hot down the
Which
stretch.
makes them
Now
a
your
Cinderella
seeding-
run.
Your seeding reflect? No, because now you're playing like the team that you anticipated to be early. You benefited from being injured early on. You're not a Cinderella team because of that.
Everything you just described creates a Cinderella run to me.
Oh, being healthy and having all your
Yes,
guys is a
being injured
Cinderella
all year
team.
long and battling to
I
make the
didn't say all
playoff
year
and
long.
then- and then getting healthy
No,
at the end to make
a
the
Cinderella
tournament.
run is, hey, we're an 8 seed because we were supposed to be a 1 seed, but we're an 8 seed because we lost all of our really good players and we still battled through to get in as an 8. Even then, I'd still kind of roll my eyes, but that's the scenario that you just explained. Getting all your good players back in mid-January and getting hot heading into March and going on a run does not make you a magical Cinderella story.
If you were below a 5 seed and you make a Final Four, it's a Cinderella. No doubt about it.
I think there's some wiggle room on that take, because
There's pretty much.
there's some good 6 seeds out there. There's some good 6 and 7.
Okay, then let's say below 6. If you play in the 7-8, or okay, let's say if you play in the
8-9.
8-9 matchup
I think it's the
or
8-9.
lower,
8-9
you are
is-
guaranteed a Cinderella.
Because
If you make it to the Final
8-9 plays
1.
the 1 or 2, right? Is that how
Well,
that
they
works?
play the 1.
They play okay.
Or if they win, obviously.
Yeah, that's where I think the line.
Okay,
might
that's
be.
fine. I'll move it down.
We're done. This is Off the Bench. Presented by United Dairy Farmers.